Distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, "After hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today! Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words "switch today" in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani recently attended prayers at an Islamic center with documented ties to the Alavi Foundation, which the Justice Department has identified as an Iranian front organization. While the mayor was there, an imam prayed for the Mahdi, a messianic figure in Islamic eschatology, to kill all infidels. The Constitution protects the free exercise of religion, but that doesn't require political leaders to legitimize rhetoric that casts fellow Americans as enemies of God who ought to be killed. At other recent events in Times Square, Islamic speakers have declared, quote, "We are a threat," unquote, referring to themselves. This isn't pluralism, it's provocation. America welcomes those who come here legally to embrace our way of life, but hostility to our faith, our freedom, and our fellow citizens can't be normalized. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal. But if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect mostly sunny skies with temperatures reaching a high of 44. Tonight, the weather will become cloudy with spotty drizzle developing late and temperatures dropping to a low of 32. Tomorrow, anticipate occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. All right, where we stand today, a couple of days into Operation Epic Fury, the strikes on Iran. Here is what's happened, and sort of in summary, and then we'll work backwards a little bit for the context. 48 Iranian leaders in the U.S.-Israeli joint operation, senior leaders, starting, of course, with the supreme leader, have been killed. The Aussies have told local media that they are not planning on joining the U.S.-Israel military campaign against Iran. Explosions have been heard throughout other, I would call them Abraham Accords countries. We'll talk about that in a minute. As Iran retaliated by going after, of course, as anticipated, military installations and consulates in the region, as well as our erstwhile allies of generally of convenience, but the Abraham Accord countries, including UAE and Qatar and the Saudis. This is Trump's summation on Sunday of where things stood.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now, it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries.
Now, as Trump anticipated in his remarks on Saturday announcing combat operations in Iran, there was the real likelihood of American casualties, and unfortunately, on Sunday with his update, he had to address that issue because 3 Americans have been killed in combat and another 5 wounded.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself.
312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. Do you agree with Trump's characterization of this as a righteous mission, quote unquote? It's a righteous mission. This is maybe perception-wise a war of his choosing, but he used his Article 2 powers here because he believes there is an imminent threat, and that's the redevelopment of the Iranian nuclear program, nuclear weaponization program. And, there's fatigue with this on-again, off-again effort to derail Iran's nefarious activities, whether it's developing nuclear weapons or underwriting terrorist organizations throughout the region. There's no regime that has killed more Americans over the last 47 years than the Iranians. And Trump drew a red line, as the Wall Street Journal opined over the weekend. He drew a red line when the mullahs slaughtered 25 to 50,000 protesters when they took to the streets in January. And he is manning that red line that he drew, unlike other presidents, say, for example, Barack Obama in Syria. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text at Chicago's Morning Answer. Now let's rewind back to Saturday, because the 8-minute speech that he gave on Saturday really provided the thought process and the framework, outlined the objective, which is all important. He first made the announcement this way.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
Yeah, and that walk through history was important, the history of the last 47 years. And it really only scratches the surface. You could include in 1983, 1984, when the one of its proxies, Hezbollah, kidnapped the CIA station chief, William Buckley, in Beirut, who died in captivity. In 84, when Hezbollah carried out the truck bomb attack on the U.S. Embassy Annex in Beirut that killed 24, all the way up to the president. I mean, right now you have a man on trial facing life in prison in this country, Pakistani man, who was in this country to carry out an assassination plot against the President of the United States, that President of the United States, President Trump, that was thankfully thwarted, but Iran, it's believed, according to federal prosecutors, Iran was behind it. In addition to their general assassination program in the West, and specifically in America, that was detailed on 60 Minutes just last year, including with respect to Iranian refugees exiled in America who face surveillance and threat of assassination on a daily basis from that regime. So let's not forget who we're dealing with and how long we've been dealing with them. And I'll have some comments on that in a second, too, that just struck me over the weekend that I took to X to post. Michael, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. As far as I'm concerned, the bombings are long overdue. And one other point worth mentioning, I'm glad that President Trump did not go to Congress first before he authorized the attacks. I cannot imagine the president of the United States having to go hat in hand to the squad, including AOC, in order to protect American citizens. I say bravo, President Trump.
Thanks for the call, Michael. Well, it is worth noting that the Gang of Eight was briefed. So there was a congressional briefing on it in a bipartisan nature. Yeah, I mean, the press corps, the Margaret Brennans of the world are decrying the failure to brief Arab states that are allied with us on this, but they're Arab states nonetheless. I mean, the idea, particularly the attack on the compound that took out the supreme leader, Khomeini, and all of those other senior leaders. I mean, that was highly sensitive information, and they, according to reporting, moved up the launch to daylight hours because they had this opportunity that they wanted to take advantage of. And so you can't go around briefing every member of Congress and the Gulf states and so on and so forth. And he did not need a War Powers Act resolution from Congress to do what he did. And for those who are trying to find a way to oppose Trump when this is very difficult to oppose, particularly Democrats, particularly given everything they've also said about the Iranian regime and the Iranian people, including Iranian Americans, taking to the streets and celebrating Trump and thanking Bibi. Iranian flags with Israeli flags, with United States flags, with American flags, and none of them are on fire. That's a pretty rare occurrence. The Iranian people wanted this. They were begging for this, and they're celebrating what America and in conjunction with Israel has done here thus far. So difficult to figure a way if you're just a TDS suffering knee-jerk leftist and you have to oppose Trump no matter what he says and no matter what he does, which is a lot of what we saw. But it's difficult to forge that ground, so you try to pretend like you're wrapping yourself in the Constitution and invoking the War Powers Act, which could be an issue at some point, but it wasn't an issue this weekend. Dennis, Crystal Lake, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, it's good to hear you. Hey, I'm going to give just a quick timeline. I'm not even going to go into what Iran, how many hundreds of thousands of their own people they've killed. This started in 1979 with our embassy. But let's not, and then the rescue mission in 80 to try to get our hostages, 14 plus died. Then we go into the Marine barracks in 83. I was in the service then. And my ships and my brothers and my cousin's ships were all in that area that I'm talking about. Then he mined the Straits of Hormuz in the late 80s. Samuel B. Roberts, USS Tripoli. They took major mine hits. He already mentioned the USS Cole.
Right.
He had his hands in that. He had the Cobalt Towers, the embassies in Sudan and Tunisia. I could go on and on, Dan. And that old man with the beard, that guy has got his feet, and he doesn't have any virgins, and he's getting his ass whooped by my grandmother.
Okay, thanks for the call, Dennis. Something else, and we'll pick this up on the other side, but Trump restating the point here, and the point is, the non-negotiable is, Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore.
Yeah, and to that point, Mark Dubowitz over at Foundation Defense of Democracies, posted over the weekend, recent satellite imagery shows construction underway at Pickaxe Mountain, where Iran is constructing a nuclear facility that goes deeper underground than Fordow, which Trump just mentioned, taken out back in June, as well as reconstruction at SPND, which is the Organization of Defense Innovation and Research in Iran, and at Taliban 2 facility inside the Parchin military complex where Tehran conducted weaponization activities previously. So there's no doubt, despite, of course, the propaganda you hear from their mouthpieces like Arghachi, the foreign minister, that they were, that they didn't get the message that was sent last June, to put it quite bluntly. All right, we'll take more of your calls and provide more context. There's obviously a lot of angles here. We're serious business. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 25 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Services will be held today in South Carolina, honoring the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. 3 services in total will be held today in South Carolina. Then services return to Chicago on Friday with a public homegoing service at the House of Hope in Chicago. Doors will open at 9 a.m. on Friday. The service follows at 11. And finally, a private homegoing celebration at the Rainbow Push Coalition will be held on Saturday from 10 to 2. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is reportedly structuring the city's debt with a deal that makes no payments for the next 3+ years. The Chicago Tribune editorial board found that the city is preparing to solicit bond investors for more than $500 million to cover back pay that's owed to firefighters and anticipated cost to settle lawsuits. The report says the cost of the debt is likely to rise as investors demand higher yields in response to Chicago's precarious financial situation. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Don't wait to save. Mattress Firm's President's Day sale in soon. Their sleep experts are highly trained to find the right bed for your specific needs. Easier search, better rest. Get both today. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now
Larry Elder sees a glaring difference.
The numbers of deportations under Obama, they were greater than under Trump. The alleged abuses by ICE also took place under Obama, except only more so. So everything you say about what ICE is doing, people like the ACLU and other human rights organizations complained was taking place under Obama. The difference is the media did not care.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know, there's nothing wrong with flying first class. Of course, everybody's got that cheapskate uncle that always says the back of the plane lands at the same time as the front of the plane. I guess there's some sort of cheapskate logic in that. However, the door is in the front of the plane. So why not get to first class? After all, they have dishes, silverware, glasses, warm towels. And if you want to sit at first class, or you aspire to, all you need is a little planning from Alpha Wealth Group. Their goal is to help maximize your income in retirement. Since you can't take it with you, there's no point in squandering your time. After all, the warm towels make the ride fun. Call Tom Fortino and Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary roadmap to retirement, so you can take a first-class flight and not worry about the cost. Call 630-864-6711. That number again, 630-864-6711. 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way. Ow! And affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active, without pain or medication.
there is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Hello, can I have your attention, please? My name is Hugh McKenzie, and I'm a devout listener of The Answer. They have partnered with Food for the Poor consistently for the last few years. In the past, I've always wanted to participate, but unfortunately never had the extra cash at the end of the year to do so. But last weekend, I received the mail, and there was a bonus check for $2,500 from Mack Truck for selling commercial vehicles. I decided that I was all in. As I mentioned, I sell commercial vehicles. Everything from Mack, Volvo, Hino, Isuzu, new and used. I've been selling for over 30 years in the Chicagoland market. Call me at 630-918-9534 or check me out on the web. Google my name, Hugh McKenzie, and Hugh is spelled H-U-G-H, McKenzie is spelled M-C-K-E-N-T-Y. All right, thank you very much for your time.
To contact Hugh McKenzie, search Hugh McKenzie on LinkedIn or call 630-918-9534. That's 630-918-9534. Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and not as cold with a high of 44. Tonight, expect increasing cloud cover with spotty drizzle developing late and a low of 32. Tomorrow will bring occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. Wednesday carries a chance of rain with a high of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Of course, we're talking about Operation Epic Fury. And we were just going through Trump's announcement on Saturday of combat operations directed against Iran. And him providing the objective and the framework gave us a little bit of the history lesson in terms of who we're dealing with here, a regime that has been responsible for killing more Americans than any other state actor in the last 47 years. The recommitment that Iran cannot obtain nuclear weapons, and I just mentioned that there is ample evidence that they restarted their nuclear program that was decimated with a carpet bombing of those sites last June by this administration. And Trump went on to, well, talk in no uncertain terms about what that regime in Tehran faces.
From threatening America and our core national security interests, we are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon.
So the annihilation is on 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. Mentioned before the break, Trump had the difficult business of announcing that 3 American soldiers had been killed, 5 wounded on Sunday during the update that he provided. But he knew going in that this was a likelihood, unfortunately, the nature of the mission. What you sign up for when you join the military is a willingness to put your life on the line.
Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
Noble and righteous mission. The question on the floor, 312-642-5600. He also had two specific calls in his initial announcement on Saturday. One to the IRGC, the Republican Guard.
To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death.
And the White House has reported that there are many who have surrendered per the call and the devastation that's already been wrought and was delivered within minutes of the beginning of the strikes. So that's good news. He also had a message to the Iranian people, basically. I'm delivering as promised, but now you got to deliver in terms of taking your country back.
Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
And here's just some of my initial thoughts when the news came over the transom. First of all, the Iranians just have completely misunderstood Trump. He is unpredictable, but he has patterns. And clearly, the now departed supreme leader was a slow learner, as were his theocratic buddies, remedial students that were used to getting passed on by an internationalist system disinclined to deal with problem children, like the mullahs in Tehran, the world's biggest problem children. And so my suggestion, as I made last week, well, first of all, the suggestion, which proved prescient, at the beginning of the week when we were talking to Steve Vibucci, which we'll do later this morning, is, Trump put them on a 15-day clock, which is probably more like a 7-day clock. And that's what it was. As soon as the indication was given that he wasn't happy with how the talks were proceeding, with all of the resources that were deployed to that region, what happened Saturday morning wasn't a surprise to me. It clearly was a surprise to the Iranians. But playing whack-a-mole offers at least the prospect of altering their incorrigibility by putting their commitment to martyrdom to the test. And as I said, some are more committed to others, for example, those reportedly of members of the IRGC that have surrendered. But that's what has to be done with terrorists and their henchmen. Every time. And I want to get to some Dem reaction to this, too. But first, Craig in Mount Greenwood, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan, and thank you so much for taking my call. Well, first of all, before I make a main point, it's like Trump's exactly right with regard to this is really beneficial to the American people because these other presidents and that really weren't thinking of the best interest of the U.S., allowing this whole big industry and just a whole country to become a threat to Americans all over the world and getting real close to being a threat to us at home. So that's all exactly right. But, most people don't stop and think about how we call them Iranians. This place was Persia, and back in about the 30s or so, they changed the name and all that. And those people have been under siege and basically captive for the 47 years that we talk about. And they were a beautiful people, very smart and productive. That land over there was beautiful, lakeshore, complexes, the stores, and everything was beautiful there. People were beautiful. There's all this stuff like that. So this here really is an opportunity of something really, really monumental. And
thanks for the call, Craig. Yeah, no, I mean a lot of individuals still, of Iranian extraction, if you will, refer to themselves as Persians, and they hearken back to that halcyon time that you were describing, as opposed to the last 47 years. There's no question about that. Rita Panahi is a news presenter for Sky News in Australia. This was the closing line of the commentary she offered.
I want to conclude this editorial with this message to the late Supreme Leader. پدر سگ خاک به سرت بسوز تو جهنم. Rowan.
Translated, you son of a bitch, burn in hell. Any questions? Someone else interesting on this score, Moj Madara. Moj Madara, she is a they. They is a Democrat. They is a successful venture capitalist. She co-founded a fund in the wellness and beauty space with none other than Gwyneth Paltrow and her vajayjay smelling candles, you'll recall. Anyway, she is a first-generation Iranian American, born in Lexington, Kentucky. Listen to what she had to say on CNN, much to the chagrin of Dana Bash and the CNN power structure, I'm sure.
There is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have. It is a have to have. And it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And I think, quite frankly, their ideology has it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I hear somebody with some common sense, at least in some areas of policy, say that, I'd be a very, very wealthy man these days with the neo-Marxist party being on the wrong side of even some of their most ardent constituents. It's tough to keep that solidarity and marginality paradigm together when interests collide. Yes, interests collide. And again, just to restate, the tough talk we heard during the 2026 campaign cycle from none other than one Kamala Harris. You remember her? This is what she had to say on 60 Minutes about Iran.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands. Okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
Yeah, right. Yeah. First of all, I mean, Iran's not the greatest threat to the nation overall. It's the biggest state sponsor of terror, but of course China is our primary adversary. But rather than quibbling about that, tough talk on Iran, which we've heard from Democrats and Republicans for, 47 years. But if you really believe what you're saying, then you have to back it up with action at some point, don't you? That was the point that John Fetterman made on Maria Bartiromo's show yesterday.
And let's also be clear. I'm tired of seeing people, go on social media and saying we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, and Israel always deserves insecurity, and they deserve to exist. Well, if you're not willing to do about it, then it must just be empty words. Yeah. Are you really? Does it matter? No. But when President Trump was willing to do the kinds of things that are necessary to provide those things. Now, if you really want to prevent Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, he did try to negotiate with them. There has been treaties. There has been other negotiations that never worked. And they had 900 pounds of just below weapons grade weapons. So, here, do you really committed, or are you just going to drop empty tweets and just try to have it both ways and pretend that it really matters? So, and that's why I'm going to support that. As a Democrat, I know that's absolutely the right thing to do. And so for me right now, the world is better. And now China and Russia are now condemning that. China is buying the Iranian oil, and that's how Iran underwrites the proxies and that regime. Yeah. So, and China is going to sell them their hypersonic missiles. That would be aimed right at American ships too.
That's right. The Chinese communists get about 55% of their oil from Iran. So, we'll get to the China piece in a second. But the point he was making about, that the tweets and the emojis and the pins and the empty rhetoric on 60 Minutes, does it mean anything or not? Well, for so long, America's enemies were pretty convinced, and understandably so, that it didn't mean anything. I would say now they're less convinced, wouldn't you? John in Chicago.
Hey, Dan, good morning. I'm old enough to remember the duck and cover drills in grammar school when we were little kids because of nuclear attack on the U.S. from Russia. And then you grow up. I went in the Army, and I spent 7 months a year in the woods with nuclear missiles because of Russia. And now Iran threatens us and the world with theirs. I support the president, what he did.
Thanks for the call, John. Robert in Bloomingdale.
Good morning, Dan. How fast do we forget? Trump was the negotiator. He's going to keep us out of wars. He's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. All of you people on this channel have Trump zombie syndrome, my friend. You are a Trump zombie. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. I think I said at the time, like during the campaign when he was, I'll end it in 5 minutes, I'll end it in 24 hours, that I think we all understood that to be hyperbole. We weren't taking him literally, taking him seriously, and there's been a serious effort that's been made to resolve that, hasn't there? So what would you have him do to resolve it, Robert, since you're an isolationist? Attack Russia? Is that what you want to do? And then you'll criticize him for being a warmonger. The idea of being a negotiator and abhorring war, which any decent person does, by the way, abhors war, death and destruction. I mean, did we not learn peace through strength from Reagan? Do we not have an acolyte of that approach in Trump? Has he not efforted to be a peacemaker wherever possible? What do you do with those who imperil you and those over whom you have responsibilities, or to whom you owe responsibilities is a better way to put it? What do you do with such a person, or such a regime in this case, since we're talking state actors? What do you do? If you want peace, you must prepare for war. All aphorisms are true, including that one. And so you must be willing to man the lines that you draw, right? So I guess if you're an isolationist like Robert, you can just blithely ignore the prospect of state sponsors of terror like Iran obtaining weapons with existential capacity like nukes. You just say, we're going to completely ignore what the rest of the world is doing and pretend we'll just be Fortress America and we'll just do our own thing, and whatever anybody else does, we won't respond. We're going to be rigid ideological pacifists. Does that make sense? Does that sound practical, pragmatic? Do you think that is in America's national security interest to take that iconoclastic approach that Robert from Bloomingdale and others who imposed upon Trump views he didn't have, because he was a Rorschach inkblot for them. He was attacking the right people, and he was saying some of the right things, so I'm going to interpret it a way favorable to a position I hold, even if it's not the position that he actually holds. That's Robert in Bloomingdale. And there's a lot of people like that. So you can take the position like Tucker Carlson did, who called the attack on Iran, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil, unquote, and predicated on provable lies. He went through about a 15-minute dissertation, which I'm not going to address in detail. So you can take that approach, but I don't really have time for it because I don't consider that particularly intellectually robust or mature. Phil in Norwich.
Good morning, Dan. I find it amusing. None of these people ever say anything about Obama bombing more countries than any other president except for FDR, and how he ran 3 terms, and nobody cries. No kings, and we're all Trump zombies. And really, when you think about it, we've got to protect ourselves nuclear-wise, and it's been going on since, the 40s, and we're sitting here playing these nuclear footballs all day. They must hate the Jews. They must hate Israel, because it's like, why are they cheering for people like Obama, who's paying these people off in airplanes full of cash, and he's allowed all those terrorists. He kept saying, everybody not jump to conclusions. We had to listen to that for years. And people are celebrating in these countries where Trump's helping them. And our leftists are angry that those people are happy.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, you have the very interesting contrast of Iranian women celebrating, both there and here, and the suburban awfuls, the angry white leftist females, protesting. Tells you a lot. We'll pick this up on the other side. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. 3 American fighter jets mistakenly shot down. I'm Dave Anthony. They were taken down by Kuwait's air defenses, but the crew is all safely ejected as Iran launches missiles at U.S. bases in the region, retaliating to the American and Israeli attacks.
Since the war began over the weekend, 3 members of the U.S. military have been killed in action and 5 severely wounded.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Istanbul, Turkey.
Pentagon says over 1,000 targets have been struck across Iran in the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury. And there are reports Iranian and Iranian-backed militias fired missiles at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait. And in Saudi Arabia today, Iran struck Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil company.
And the oil prices are surging up 7%. Stock futures are falling on Wall Street, and travelers are getting stranded in the Middle East. Airlines have canceled more than 2,000 flights, more than half to and from Dubai and Abu Dhabi, as the conflict widens.
The Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy, launching rockets over the border at the northern Israeli city of Haifa, sending people into bomb shelters.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv also reports Israel fired back, killing at least 30 Hezbollah militants. Iranian attacks in Israel have killed at least 9 people. President Trump says this operation targeting Iran could last 4 weeks.
Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building.
In that Truth Social video, the president also offered prayers to the Americans wounded and condolences to the families of the 3 killed. He's also urging Iranians to take control of their government. The supreme leader and dozens of senior officials among the 500-plus deaths in Iran. Exiled Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi just thanked the president.
Millions of Iranians and the diaspora around the world have celebrated the death of the top henchman or monster of this regime, Ali Khamenei.
And the prince just told Fox he wants to return to Iran. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 25 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. An Illinois lawmaker says giving cash payments to new and expectant mothers on Medicaid would save the state money, but an economics professor says the outcomes associated with such payments remain unclear. Jim Talamonte has the story.
House Bill 5238 and Senate Bill 3756 provide for a $1,500 payment during the first trimester of pregnancy and $500 a month for the first 6 months of the baby's life. State Senator Graciela Guzman said the cash would allow recipients to pay for medications and other needs.
And when you have the funds to do it, those complications go down and save our state Medicaid system money.
Loyola University of Chicago economics professor Frances Lee said the results of guaranteed income programs remain unclear.
As we know, the money is not attached to any strings, so it's not clear that the people would choose to spend the money and or put health outcome as a priority.
I'm Jim Talamonte.
Illinois African Descent Citizens Reparations Commission has released a 294-page document examining how slavery and its vestiges produce historical harms and continue to generate inequities for Black Illinoisans. The commission said the report will help inform debate over how to repair and redress the damage. The report's authors say that it was beyond the scope of the document to determine what those remedies should be. And work is set to begin today on a new Chicago Street interchange at I-80. The work is part of ongoing efforts to rebuild I-80 in Manuka, Joliet, and New Lenox. The Chicago Street interchange is the last of 6 to be rebuilt along the project corridor. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder explains how prices come down.
GDP growth last quarter, 4.4%, 4.3%. People's incomes are rising faster than inflation. Everything is driven by gas prices. Everything has to be transported. So when people are paying far less now for gas than they were 5 years ago, it is a huge, huge boost to the wallet. And I think Trump deserves a lot of praise for this.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it. Turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit scottjenningsshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jane Klaus. So far, all your expressways are looking good. On this Friday morning, it's just 20 minutes in from O'Hare to downtown. The reverse trip, 25 back out to the big airport. You've got your typical slow pocket on the inbound Stevenson between Ashland and the on-ramp to the inbound Ryan. DuSable Lakeshore Drive and your tollway is still moving along fine. This report is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny and not as cold with a high of 44. Tonight, expect increasing cloud cover with spotty drizzle developing late and a low of 32. Tomorrow will bring occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. Wednesday carries a chance of rain with a high of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
A real nice beard, you know it really caught on my Ayatollah. But you know your mind is weird, your mind is weird. You really are a nutty kind of guy, Ayatollah. Come on, give us back all the people at the embassy. The Shah's in New York and he's taking chemotherapy. He's already gonna die, Ayatollah. Ayatollah, when you get the Shah back home, the Shah back home, we know you're gonna eat him on Ayatollah. But we kinda need your oil to make our gas. You know you're such a pain in the Ayatollah. Come on, cool your jets, meditate, eat a hamburger. Don't get us too upset or we'll do something nuclear. Bye, Ayatollah.
I doff my cap to one Steve Dahl, Chicago radio legend Steve Dahl. That's Steve Dahl in Teenage Radiation in 1979. Ahead of their time. And now their time has come. 47 years later. That's fun. I like a good parody song. That was a good one, don't you think? All right, you gotta leaven some of this. I know this is heavy stuff. War, life and death, nuclear proliferation and so forth, but a little bit of leavening, and thankfully we had Steve Dahl in the archives for that. I did want to get to a couple of more reactions as the Dems are groping in the dark, trying to find a position they can hang on to satisfy their deranged base, Trump deranged and just generally deranged, with a few, some of them are not interested in serving their base, like John Fetterman I mentioned last hour.
Look at the kind of people that are grieving that or now protesting that. Even on Columbia University, one of the student groups just announced on Twitter saying, "Death to America."
Wow.
You know, like, I mean, it's just like, this is what I'm saying. Look at the kind of people that grieve for that garbage.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's the point. And I'm going to be on that side. For me, as a Democrat, I think Democrats country over party.
Yeah.
You know, what the base demands means nothing to me. What's the right thing and the right side of history is what happened with Epic Fury.
Yeah, that's the question is the right thing. If you can move beyond making this all about personality, and that includes, I guess, Trump voters like Robert from Bloomingdale who can't move beyond Trump to the substance of the matter. And it certainly includes these hysterics that have taken to the streets like 200 or so did over the weekend in the Loop to protest on behalf of the leading state sponsor of terror in the world. People like Rashida Tlaib posting on social media, you don't free people by killing them and destroying their country. Well, you know, I don't know. I'm going to defer to the Iranian people who took to the streets all over America, as I mentioned before, flying Iranian flags, Israeli flags were flying, American flags were flying all together, celebrating, thanking Trump, thanking Bibi, hopeful for their country's future now. Even begrudgingly, the D.C. press corps had to offer some admissions to this reality. CBS News Desk.
The Iranian people, what are you hearing from them tonight? We know they're celebrating. What's the feeling?
It's an incredible dissonance that they had to choose war over a regime, but they were willing to do it. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you, America. It's not death to America after they killed the leader. The Americans and the Israelis did it. It's not death to Israel and death to America. It's thank you. It's a new day dawning, but very early days. Very, very early days. So we'll have to see what comes. But it's the Iranian people that have been telling me over and over and over again, we want this.
CNN in L.A. covering the rally there.
Since we've gotten here, it has amassed a large number of people, and the celebration is striking. We got here just moments after initial reports, initial rumors of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei had just started to trickle from Iran to this diaspora community, and people were jumping in excitement, hugging each other, crying, saying that basically they've been waiting 47 years for this very day, Jessica. It is the reason so many of them have come out here today. I want you to hear from one of them specifically, his thoughts right after learning that the supreme leader of Iran was dead.
When is the last time you saw people in Israel and Iran dancing on the streets in excitement? And when is the last time you've ever heard of a country coming out and dancing because they're excited that foreign powers are attacking them?
312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. Let me offer this commentary that I posted over the weekend and get your reaction. Trump may be impetuous rhetorically, but he is calculating strategically. In his first term, Trump set in motion this decapitation strategy you're seeing play out right now against a regime that has killed more Americans than any other over the last half century by ending the Obama appeasement approach and initiating the Abraham Accords, followed by taking out Soleimani. Trump brought the Gulf states in, further isolating Iran, and put a marker down that he would enforce the red lines he drew. No more on-again, off-again dithering by the United States. He continued to remove doubt and build to the moment upon us with Operation Midnight Hammer last June, taking out the nuclear program. In fact, rather than destabilizing the Middle East, as his mealy-mouthed critics contended, Trump stabilized it. The feared Iranian response has been anemic, thanks in part to the chaos Trump inflicted by taking out its senior leadership. The concern that U.S. strikes would be condemned by the Arab world and instigate a regional war, combined with asymmetrical Iranian-backed Islamist terrorist attacks with tacit support from China and Russia, has not materialized either. Quite the opposite, as, among other things, the Arab states being attacked by Iran are being drawn even closer to the United States and Israel, while the primary funding source for Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis is marginalized. Certainly perils still exist. Thousands of American soldiers are in harm's way. Does the rogue regime survive in some diminished capacity by turning inward to stave off a popular revolt? That's a question. What comes next if this regime is indeed overthrown? That's a question. Reza Pahlavi's contending that he's poised to take over, notwithstanding. Those are questions. Those are unknown. I mean, they're not clear, I would say. However, as Victor Davis Hanson recently observed, I'm quoting him, it's been the dream of 8 presidencies going back to Jimmy Carter, all the way to Donald Trump, to have some type of regime change. Of course, there's one exception, Barack Obama. Trump has brought America closer than she has ever been to the fulfillment of that dream of 8 presidencies minus Obama. And he's done so over the course of time by creating and taking opportunities, as with the Abraham Accords, to slowly but methodically build the kind of coalition that further isolates Iran and puts them in this position where, yes, they're responding, but I mean, this is Soviet quality propaganda from the foreign minister Abbas Aragachi over the weekend on This Week.
We've just reported that 40 senior commanders were killed in the first minutes of the strike. How much damage has this done to your military infrastructure?
Well, we have lost some commanders. That is a fact. And the names are already announced. But another fact is that nothing has changed in our, military capability. This is exactly what happened last time. You remember in June when Israel attacked us, they killed some of our top commanders at the beginning of the strikes, but they were replaced very soon. And in less than 12 hours, we were able to start retaliation. This time, it was even, faster. In less than 2 hours, we started to retaliate by attacking, Israeli targets and American bases in the region. And we have continued to do so. Our military is in place. They are capable enough to defend our country. Even more, they are more prepared and capable than previous war, before 12-day war. Quality-wise, quantity-wise, they are in a better position. And I think you have seen how they, acted so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is far from over. Thus, Trump's commitment to a 30-day campaign at this juncture within the War Powers Act prescription, by the way. But that Black Knight routine that Argachi is doing, merely a flesh wound? No, that is not what's happening or has happened already in 48 hours. On the surgical strike that took out the supreme leader and so many senior mullahs, really interesting. Wall Street Journal has it, but this geopolitical analyst, Shanaka Anselm Pereira, has a good write-up on this, too. They did not bomb Iran, talking about the United States and Israel. They waited for Iran's entire leadership to sit down in the same room, and they bombed Iran. Months of intelligence, thousands of hours of surveillance and signal intercepts. One variable: the moment the supreme leader, the president, and senior military command gathered in a single location at the same time. That moment was 8:15 in the morning on Saturday. Every previous Israeli strike on Iran came at night. June of 2025 launched in the darkness. October 2024 after midnight. Iran's entire air defense doctrine is built around the assumption that Israeli attacks in the dark. Israel attacked in broad daylight because the target was not infrastructure. The target was a meeting. Reuters confirmed strikes targeted Khamenei and Pezeshkian. That's Tucker Carlson's buddy. Had a nice chat with him. Not going to be able to do that anymore. CNN confirms months of joint U.S.-Israeli planning. Israeli officials gathered Israel officials confirmed the strike hit the location where Iran's top officials were gathered. It wasn't clear at the time of this writing that whether or not Khamenei had escaped, but now we know he did not. Iran's leadership now knows three things. Israel knew where the meeting was, knew where they were meeting. Israel knew when they were meeting. Israel knew who would be in the room. And everything we watched over the past month, all of it was, in terms of scrambling of resources, all of it was delivery architecture for one precision strike on one gathering. And this, he's focused on Israel here, but CIA reportedly had a lot to do with this intel gathering too, as one would expect. Every future meeting of Iran's senior leadership now carries one question. Does Israel know about this one too? This is not a military operation. This is the destruction of institutional trust inside a regime. Every general who sits with, he writes Khamenei, after this, because again, it wasn't clear that he had been eliminated. But next man up, who's Ali Larijani. So you could just, where you have Khamenei in this write-up, you just insert Alajani. Every IRG commander who receives a meeting summons will calculate whether attendance is duty or a death sentence. Every secure facility in Tehran has been proven insecure. In June of 2025, what Aragachi, the foreign minister, was referring to, Israel and the United States killed 30 generals in the opening minutes of that campaign. That was brute force across dispersed targets. This was a scalpel. One meeting, one moment, months of patience. Iran fired missiles at 6 countries in retaliation. Most were intercepted. 1 civilian dead from the debris in Abu Dhabi. Saudi Arabia responded by pledging all of its capabilities against Iran. The Gulf coalition that did not exist yesterday exists today because Tehran built it by attacking everyone simultaneously. That's what I was referencing when I'm saying all this does is push the Gulf states, the Abraham Accord states at minimum, closer to the United States and Israel and further isolate Iran. Israel traded one morning of precision strikes for the permanent destruction of Iran's command cohesion. This is not a battle. This is checkmate disguised as a first move. 312-642-5600. And, here's that moment.
Boom. Mother of God.
Circular error probability 0. Impact with high order detonation. Have a nice day.
That was actually from Clear and Present Danger, but it felt the same, didn't it? When you're reading how this went down, it feels like the hit on that cartel compound and the meeting of all those cartel heads from Clear and Present Danger, doesn't it? I figured I'd squeeze a movie reference in there. Jerry in Norridge, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you very much for taking my call. You're doing a great job on covering this.
Thank you.
With all of these, with all of these rockets and drones that are raining down on Israel with this so-called retaliation from Iran, can they not pinpoint where these things are coming from and kind of like level that area so that will be eliminated forever? And what are the chances of a sleeper cell doing something nasty here in America?
Well, thanks for the call, Jerry, on both scores. On the last point, we may have had an instance of that in Austin over the weekend. That mass shooting by that guy from Senegal who was naturalized, I think, in 2013. He came here on a tourist visa, then he married an American woman. Killed 3, wounded 14 at the bar in Austin. Wearing a Property of Allah shirt and a copy of the Quran in his car, is the reporting. So was that inspired by the U.S., inspired by Epic Fury? Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that's always a concern. The existence of Islamist terrorists is a concern. And I'm sure you heard the reporting about local police departments and state police being on heightened alert, particularly around major cities, once the combat operations were announced for that very reason. We understand. We've been through this. So that's part of it. I said nothing is without peril here. And, Israel and the Dome and their intel and their infrastructure can thwart a lot of those attacks, and has, but not everything. You saw, especially when you target civilian installations, apartment buildings, schools, hospitals, some of those attacks will inevitably result in death. And I think there was reportedly half a dozen Israelis who's been killed. So, yeah, I mean, this is serious stuff, no question. Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. I think it's important to note for historical context and current context that today and tomorrow is Purim. And if nobody is familiar with that, Purim is the celebration of the salvation of the Jews from when they were in ancient Persia. And there was an orphan named Esther. There's a book of Esther in the Bible, and this is about her. But she was a Jewish orphan, and she went from being a Jewish orphan, and God placed her to be the queen of Persia. And she had an uncle named Mordecai who warned her about the killing that was ordered by for the Jews by Haman. And God used her, and she had said, there's a famous line from that book that says, "For such a time as this." So I think, the scripture is about warning and blessing, and it gives us wisdom, and it helps us to understand that evil doesn't stop itself. It doesn't mean that God can stop evil in a heartbeat. He's near, and he's watching to see if we're going to be strong and courageous. And, in Revelation, it does warn. It warns people not just about being unbelieving about him, but Jesus also condemns those who are cowards, the cowardly. So we have to make sure that we're going before the Lord, that we're not fearful. We don't need to fear. We only fear the Lord, because he is the one that is in control and on his throne. And so if we can just look to him, I pray that Israel, I pray that the people in Iran, I pray that America seeks peace through Jesus. And I pray that we will be a united front to stop evil. And that's my prayer. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thanks, Dawn. Appreciate it. Jerry, Milwaukee.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. This is a brilliant strategy by Trump. And for me, the first step in this was taking Maduro out, because he wanted to get rid of the one threat in our hemisphere first, and he wanted to get rid of Iran, because they were willing to attack the United States with nuclear weapons. And once that happened, China would jump in, North Korea would jump in, Russia would jump in, anyone else against the United States would jump in, and we could not defend ourselves against all these fronts.
Well, thanks for the call, Jerry. I mean, it's a little, China's already in Venezuela, in Iran. We'll get to that. A lot of this was about China, but we'll get to that in a bit. Leo, Wicker Park.
Yeah, they already mentioned the peril of thousands of martyrs spreading across the country for the next generation to take revenge. But also Canada has built a large port on the West Coast to supply China with oil. And that's one of the reasons why Canada is now going to India and making a deal with them. So in a way, Trump has created a whole new economic leverage that doesn't depend on the Middle East.
Thanks for the call, Leo. David in LaPorte, Indiana.
Good morning, Dan. Big fan of the show. I just wanted to bring up the point that who's loving what happened over the weekend is Bill Clinton. because didn't he just give like a whole, like Trump just bailed him out and didn't even realize it?
Well, he did have a deposition on Friday. And you know what, David, just for bringing that up, we'll tackle the Clintons and their depositions late last week at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 27 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A group of 10 Chicago residents say they are stranded in Dubai after widespread flight cancellations tied to the conflict in the Middle East. The group had traveled to celebrate a friend's 27th birthday and was scheduled to return home yesterday before their flight was canceled. They say that they've contacted the airlines and the U.S. Embassy but have yet to receive new travel arrangements. Aviation experts warn the disruptions could impact tens of thousands of travelers and may drive up ticket prices as the situation continues. The family of Reverend Jesse Jackson says he will be laid to rest in Chicago following services in South Carolina today. Jackson's body arrived at the South Carolina State Capitol early yesterday morning, where he will lie in state before additional memorial events. Families say they will return to Chicago after fulfilling family commitments in South Carolina. And a West Suburban man is being held after prosecutors say he stabbed a housemate. Authorities say Ernesto Granados had been released a day earlier on misdemeanor charges tied to the same home before allegedly returning with a knife. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Alex Marlow explains the good news.
We've got numbers that are just beyond belief here. The best core CPI since March 2021, which means we've erased the inflation from the Biden inflation, which is so great. Prices are down for used cars, gasoline, medicine, and electricity. And the market thinks this isn't just one good report, but a sign that inflation is low enough that the Fed can start cutting rates again, which is huge.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
The vaccines have failed. While the virus continues to mutate and bypass every shot they give you, the establishment is left with no answers. You're being left defenseless against a changing enemy. But the cavalry has arrived. When the system fails, nature and science unite to rescue your immune system. It's time to stop chasing mutations and start blocking them. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. We've combined 23 high-potency natural ingredients into one synergistic strike. We are hitting the virus from every angle. Don't be a victim of ineffective science. Get the 23-ingredient shield that actually works. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Hey Chicagoland, it's Jeff from Jeff Buys Your House. If you recently inherited a property, you're likely navigating a lot right now. Loss, family decisions, and maybe some difficult conversations. And now there's a house to figure out. Here's what we've learned from helping hundreds of families since 2007. Every inherited home situation is different, and we're not here to judge. We're here to help. Our veteran-led team has seen it all. Houses that need major repairs, properties full of a lifetime of belongings, and families that just want a simple solution so they can move forward. Here's what you need to know. You don't need to repair anything or clear anything out. We'll give you a straightforward cash offer with no obligation, and you choose the closing timeline. Simple, respectful, straightforward. If you need guidance on your next steps with an inherited property, we are here for you. Call 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still looking great on the Edens, about 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burnt Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound is 28, very slow into Mannheim Road. The Jane Addams exit ramps are very slow eastbound to get off onto the Tri-State and also onto the road into O'Hare. 15 minutes both ways on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. 16 in, 15 out on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. 15 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burnt Interchange. Stop and go on the Bishop Ford inbound from 111th Street to the Dan Ryan, and you are slow on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less now. That's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises, all on Verizon 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found Straight Talk prices, exclusively at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect mostly sunny skies with temperatures reaching a high of 44. Tonight, the weather will become cloudy with spotty drizzle developing late and temperatures dropping to a low of 32. Tomorrow, anticipate occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One reaction I did want to zero in on from congressional neo-Marxists was Virginia Senator Mark Warner. Now, this guy is on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So you'd think he'd come up with something that was, passable in terms of logic. But here was his criticism of sorts of President Trump's decision to launch on Iran.
I think the president has started a war of choice. There was no imminent threat to the United States. So the decision to put our service members in harm's way and bases around the region in harm's way was entirely based upon the president's decision, not an imminent threat to America. I think it is incumbent that the president of the United States comes before the American people and the Congress and makes the case of why he has chosen to go to war at this point. Ironically, Dana, if the president had chosen to take one of these actions back in early January, when the Iranian people were on the streets in the millions, you could make a case because that might have nudged the regime into dramatic change. He couldn't make that choice because the aircraft carrier that would have assisted that operation was off the coast of Venezuela at that point. And our allies in the region, in Europe in particular, who would have been helping us make that choice in January, were very focused on the president's crazy folly around Greenland. So the fact that he has chosen now, why now as opposed to a few weeks from now, to have given the negotiations a bit more time to see if they play out. Now, listen, I will be the first to acknowledge having the supreme leader and other major leaders of the Iranian regime eliminated is good for the region, good for the world. But for anyone to pretend or to assume that this is over at this point.
I mean, okay, so let me just understand something, Senator. So what happened was good, but it should have been done 3 weeks ago, or it should be done 3 weeks from now. And Trump should make the case to the American people, which he did on Saturday morning, and ultimately address Congress, which he can. But nothing is over, even though the president has already publicly committed to basically a 4-week campaign, recognizing nothing is over. But other than that, really a trenchant critique from Senator Mark Warner. There's something else to the timing of this. And by the way, I will get to the Clinton depositions, but we've got a guest now, so we're sticking on this topic. But, hang on in LaPorte and elsewhere. But the timing of this, as I've been mentioning, we're going to get to it right now. China. Good piece in over at the Free Press by Zineb Raboa, who is a scholar at the Hudson Institute. A lot of the timing of the attack can be explained in one word: China. By the way, just as an aside, Mark Warner, he should have attacked or could have attacked when there were millions of people in the streets. That's when you want to launch a missile attack? You want to start airstrikes when there's millions of innocent civilians in the streets of Tehran? Okay, I digress. Back to China. She writes, in late December, when the largest protests in '79 erupted in Iran, fueled by the economic freefall and a population that no longer believed in the regime's strength, the government responded with the massacres, prompting the EU to designate the Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization, further isolating the regime, which Trump has been effectively doing methodically when he either created opportunities or seized them since his first term. All right, now hold on. Yet China was moving to put it back together, the Islamic Republic. Weaker than any point in history, but China was on the cusp of moving to put it back together. Last week it was reported that Tehran was close to finalizing a deal for Chinese-made supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles, which actually John Fetterman mentioned on his during his appearance on Badaroma. Supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles capable of threatening American carriers now amassing in the Persian Gulf. Earlier, Chinese suppliers shipped more than 1,000 tons of sodium perchlorate, a key missile propellant ingredient, to an Iranian port, enough to rebuild a substantial portion of the ballistic missile stockpile that Israel spent 12 days destroying. Why would Beijing do this, and what does that mean for the United States? And she goes on to look at the broader global context in which Iran plays a role in service of China. Start with the oil. China buys more than 80% of Iran's crude oil exports at steep discounts. And they travel on those ghost fleets that have been much discussed, both on that side of the world as well as here vis-a-vis Venezuela, pre-Maduro's capture. So just that overlay, that China overlay, is key to perhaps understanding exactly the timing, in addition to the need to have some time to put together a response once you drew the red line about protesters that you had confidence could be executed with precision with respect to taking out senior leadership and the minimization of the possibility of casualties. There's also this report out. Chinese are now leaving Iran like crazy. The price of a one-way ticket to Beijing has gone to 3 million won, which is like 425 grand. What are the Chinese so afraid of? According to a Taiwanese news source, they have done so many bad things in Iran, such as helping the Iranian regime crack down on protests, that the Iranian people despise them. And they don't want to be without a seat when the music stops, if indeed it does for this regime. Interesting. A lot more complicated than some of the superficial analyses and, pathetic groping in the dark for a passable political position for your base, like Mark Warner was doing, that are being bandied about at current. For more on all this, pleased to be joined by David Dowd. He is with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, where he is a senior fellow focused on Lebanon and Hezbollah. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
What is your assessment of the, as Trump said, the righteousness of these strikes and the potential that this regime is toppled?
Well, I think those are two separate questions. In terms of the righteousness of the strikes, look, the Iranian regime, since it came into existence, has set about transforming the region, the Middle East, into a region of chaos and war. I mean, they've built up proxies in Lebanon, in Iraq, that have set about bringing war, destruction upon their host countries in the name of a foreign cause, in the name of Iran's interests. As we saw on October 7th, one of the Iran's proxies, Hamas, and another Palestinian Islamic Jihad, brought yet another conflict, yet another destructive and bloody conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. Tehran has an interest in preventing Israeli-Palestinian peace from ever being achieved. And, this is setting aside that both actors also have agency, but Iran has been adding fuel to the flames. So this is a regional destabilizer. This is a regime that has brought, the death of hundreds of thousands of Syrians just to keep Bashar al-Assad in power because his presence served their interests. And, the Iranians themselves can speak to the horrors that they suffered at the hands of this regime. So in terms of the righteousness of the cause, I think there are a few causes in recent history that are as righteous as at least constraining, crippling the regime in Iran. Now, whether there's the second question, whether this campaign has the potential to bring about change in the regime in Iran is a separate question. What we seem to be experiencing now is sustained operations by the United States, by Israel, to cripple the Iranian regime, cripple its military capabilities. But ultimately, if history has taught us anything, it's that air campaigns don't bring about regime change. And this is why President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have called on the Iranian people to seize this opportunity and finally put this regime out of commission. And much, if not everything, will depend on the Iranian people taking that step. And look, we've seen from the protests over the past couple of months and over the past several years, the Iranian people are willing to shed a lot of blood in the name of their country. So this may be the moment for them to finally seize, as President Trump put it.
Well, the other thing, address this argument made by the Hudson Institute fellow talking about China as the real backdrop of this, because Iran is increasingly isolated. China was basically its economic lifeline, and China may be turning tail on Iran now, or certainly it may not be as well positioned to cement these deals that were in the offing, further isolating and weakening Iran and further perhaps pushing the Chinese Communist Party out.
Look, I think there's perhaps merit to that argument. There was an alliance between Iran and several other actors, including China. They have a joint interest in weakening American global hegemony, but China isn't as ideologically fixated on the pursuit of that goal as the Iranians are. The Chinese are self-interested. They, as far as I understand, right? I'm not a China expert by any measure, but as far as I see it, the Chinese don't seem to be pursuing an ideological imperative to weaken American global hegemony, to dismantle the international order that the United States has built and replace it with, their own ideologically inspired order. The utility that Iran had for China is in a confrontation with the United States. Iran is our main regional adversary. The stronger Iran and its proxies are in the Middle East, the weaker the United States are in this region, which is rich in natural resources that are critical to Europe, to the United States, trade routes that are critical to the United States and Europe. So strengthening Iran at that moment, if you're trying to confront the United States, serves your interest. But if you're making deals with the United States on the side, or if Iran's already weakening and it can't do that job, then for China, for Beijing, it's not worth it to go down with a sinking ship anyway,
right, exactly,
or to just gratuitously confront the United States. So I can say I agree with that assessment.
And the debilitating impact, how debilitating is the impact on those proxies you mentioned, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis?
Well, it remains, it remains to be seen, because if I may say, the genius of the Iranian model is to build up proxies, especially when it comes to ideologically loyal proxies like Hezbollah. Right? The link between Iran and Hezbollah is not one that's based on material support. It's not based on money. If all the funds and all the weapons were to stop tomorrow or today from Iran to Hezbollah, Hezbollah would still remain loyal and obedient to Iran. So the link is ideological. Because of that, what Iran can do with these proxies is allow them to build up a degree of autonomy, weapons production capabilities, fundraising, and Hezbollah has all this. They have domestic productions capabilities, they have fundraising channels. If the regime were to be severely weakened, or even there were regime change in Iran, an entity like Hezbollah would be severely weakened. At the same time, it would still have the means to self-perpetuate, assuming nothing else happens. Now, obviously, Hezbollah decided to bring a war upon itself yesterday, so that may shape Hezbollah's fate a lot more than what happens in Iran alone.
And what's your? I know this is very early stage, so it's difficult, but your assessment of how this impacts the prospects for, the Board of Peace that's come together and trying to achieve some cessation of hostilities and resurrection of Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Look, again, like you said, it's too soon to be said. What we can say for certain is that so long as the Iranian regime was allowed to remain intact, was allowed to rebuild its internal capabilities after the June 2025 war and rebuild its resistance axis, the less likely that any initiative that would have brought about peace in Gaza, like real peace, not just a cessation of hostilities for the next few years, any chance of Israeli-Palestinian peace, Iran would have worked actively to undermine that. I mean, the October 7th attack, as far as we can assess, was launched to derail Saudi-Israeli normalization, because it would not have been in Iran's interest for the birthplace of Islam and the birthplace of Judaism to finally come to peace. It would have taken the religious dimension out of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Saudi Arabia, having positioned itself or been trying to position itself as the new leader of the Arab and Islamic world, could have then shepherded Israel and a Palestinian entity towards peace. It's sort of taken away one of Iran's main causes for intervention in the region, one of Iran's main sources of support in the region. So Iran could not sit there and watch, the liquidation of the Arab-Israeli conflict occur, the liquidation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict occur. They had to keep the flames alive. So long as this regime and
Well, that's rather ironic because with Iran's retaliatory strikes now, they're driving those countries closer to the United States and Israel by extension.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's again, there's a certain foolishness to this. I'm sitting here and racking my brain over why Hezbollah would even intervene in this conflict as they did yesterday, for example. Again, this is my area of focus. And frankly, I can't explain it, because if you think that the Iranian regime has a chance of survival, then you don't want to widen the confrontation. You want this confrontation to be as quick and as painless, and to leave as many of Iran's direct and proxy assets in place as possible, so you have more to rebuild with the day after. But if you think that Iran is going down, that the regime is in existential danger, then why surprise Israel with only 3 rockets? I think Hezbollah's opening barrage was somewhere between 3 and 6 rockets that thankfully did no damage. Most of them landed in open areas. But if you're going to go down, why go down with a whimper? If if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound with the Israelis. Hezbollah should have known that the Israelis were going to launch a war if so much as a bullet crossed the border from Lebanon into Israel. And yet they chose this very underwhelming way to put themselves on the course of demise. It doesn't make any sense why the proxies are reacting in this way, and why the reaction has been, in many cases, underwhelming.
David Dowd is a senior fellow at Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, focused on Lebanon and Hezbollah, as we've been discussing. David, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
And David joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, Stephen Bucci of the Heritage Foundation joins us to continue this discussion. We'll get his perspective on what the possibilities are for what could come next if regime change did happen. That's 7:07. It's 7 o'clock on AM 560.
This is a Fox News alert. A fourth American has died in Operation Epic Fury. I'm Dave Anthony. Was one of the 5 who'd been badly wounded, succumbing to their injuries the day after President Trump offered condolences to the families of those killed and prayers to the injured.
And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is.
The president in that Truth Social video also said this, with the U.S. and Israel continuing to attack Iran.
The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives.
The supreme leader is among the 500-plus people killed in Iran.
We thank President Trump for having
brought us to a point of thinking that now we have a real chance to take over our country.
That's exiled Iran Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi telling Fox he wants to return to Iran to lead a push for democracy. We expect an update any minute from War Secretary Pete Hegseth as Iran keeps targeting U.S. facilities in the region.
The U.S. military says Kuwaiti air defenses mistakenly shot down 3 American F-15E Strike Eagle aircraft. There's video appearing to show at least one jet plummeting to Earth. The 6 pilots ejected safely. They're in a stable condition in the hospital. We're told the incident happened during combat, including attacks from Iranian aircraft, ballistic missiles and drones.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. The U.S. embassies and consulates have also been targets in the region, and Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reports.
And just a few minutes ago, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is out with a new statement warning Americans to shelter in place and to be aware of the Iranian-backed militias that are scattered throughout Iraq, and are also warning against protests.
As Iran fires missiles into Israel again.
The southern Israeli city of Beersheba took a direct impact. First responders telling Fox News at least 10 people were injured and taken to local hospitals.
Fox's Trey Ingstle's 9 other Israelis been killed in earlier attacks as Hezbollah fires rockets from Lebanon and Israel retaliates. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 27 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Both Illinois and Indiana are courting the Chicago Bears as they plan to build a new stadium, but taxpayers say they feel left behind. Fox 32 Chicago's Brett Bugansky has more.
Indiana Governor Mike Braun signed the Stadium Authority bill, which gives $1 billion from taxpayers to build a new stadium in Hammond. But some of you may feel forgotten about. That's because some people have reached out to us saying they've been asking their state lawmakers for help on their utility bills.
They told about the Bear Stadium and things like that within the state of Indiana when we're all wondering how are we going to pay our next NIPSCO bill.
The Illinois mega project bill passed out of committee Thursday. It allows companies like the Chicago Bears to have their property values frozen for up to 40 years. It also gives them a break on building materials for a new stadium.
So these are insiders taking money from taxpayers. It doesn't make any sense.
We'll see if they come up with a solution in Springfield.
The Bears have yet to make a commitment to either of the 2 proposed sites for the new stadium, but say they're taking both offers seriously. A group of 10 Chicago residents say they're stranded in Dubai after widespread flight cancellations tied to the conflict in the Middle East. The group had traveled to celebrate a friend's 27th birthday, and they were supposed to return home yesterday, but their flight was canceled. They say they've contacted the airline and the U.S. Embassy, but have yet to receive new travel arrangements. And thousands of people jumped into the freezing Lake Michigan waters yesterday for the annual Polar Plunge at North Avenue Beach. Organizers say more than 4,300 participants raised over $1.5 million to support Special Olympics Illinois and related programs. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder sees a glaring difference.
The numbers of deportations under Obama, they were greater than under Trump. The alleged abuses by ICE also took place under Obama, except only more so. So everything you say about what ICE is doing, people like the ACLU and other human rights organizations complained was taking place under Obama. The difference is the media did not care.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 899-5600 or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We are shut down on the south side in Inglewood on 76th Street, both ways between South Halstead Street and Low Avenue, with a very serious accident involving a police officer. Stop and go on the inbound Kennedy as you head towards Harlem Avenue, and the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to Burn Interchange is 29 minutes, outbound is 26, and you're also slow outbound into Manheim Road. You're slow exiting on the Jane Addams eastbound for the Tri-State and on the road to O'Hare, 26 in, 16 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 24 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan from 95th to Burn Interchange is 19 minutes, outbound is 11. Slow on the Bishop Ford inbound from 111th Street to the Dan Ryan, and your stop and go northbound on Lakeshore Drive from Bryn Mawr Avenue to Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University and the Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect mostly sunny skies with temperatures reaching a high of 44. Tonight, the weather will become cloudy with spotty drizzle developing late and temperatures dropping to a low of 32. Tomorrow, anticipate occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, building on the discussions we've been having all morning about Operation Epic Fury, of course, one of the immediate questions, and it was batted around on some of the Sunday talkies, if there were to be regime change, if the popular revolt were able to topple the regime in its current constitution, well, then what would come next? Here was Senator Tom Cotton weighing in on that question with the noxious, intolerable Maggie Brennan on Face the Nation.
Iran does have a vast missile arsenal, and that's going to be the priority objective for this military campaign. It is destroying that arsenal that threatened American troops from bases as far-flung as the Indian Ocean to Western Europe, and making
many
sure
of those
that
are being
Iran can't
fired
rebuild
right
it.
now.
As far as the future, well, we're stopping a lot of them from being fired before Iran can fire them. It's much easier to kill the archer on the ground than it is to shoot his arrows out of the sky. As far as the long-term future of Iran's government, Secretary Rubio is right. I don't think anyone can give you a simple answer. There's probably a lot of jockeying inside of Iran right now. They have a very consultative, deliberative process to replace the supreme leader. There's a reason why he didn't want to have a clear succession plan in place. It's hard to do that when the United States is pummeling their leadership every moment of the day. I'm sure, though, that there are also some leaders inside of Iran who might be jockeying to audition for the role of Iran's Delcy Rodriguez.
The role of Iran's Delcy Rodriguez, well, and then the natural follow-up question is that sounds like slow-moving regime change. I don't know if a popular vote fells this current regime, if a Delcy Rodriguez sort of transition figure will be enough. But it seems like the person who has emerged, we'll get a review on this shortly, the person that's emerged, because he's the one making the typical death to America threats, is Ali Larijani, who is the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, saying of the U.S. and Israel, they burn the heart of the Iranian nation. We will now burn their hearts as well. Okay. Of course, Shah's son in exile, Reza Pahlavi, is basically saying, as he was during the protests in January after the strike on the nuclear program last June, that he is the transition to Iran's tomorrow, and he said so again on Bartiromo show this weekend.
Well, Maria, this is time now for a very strong, stable transition. I am leading this transition. I have the support of millions of Iranian people. I have the people inside the country that are joining and broadening the coalition of forces that will be at play in filling the boxes. The military will side with us, and we have a plan of action and a transition plan.
Yeah, maybe, although there seems to be real doubt as to just exactly how broad the support that Pahlavi enjoys really is. He is trying to ingratiate himself to Trump, no doubt, with this comment.
You know, the president says MAGA. We say MAGA, make Iran great again. And in that sense, I think that a different Iran that now will be at peace with the region, work with our neighbors, will bring an element of stability, will be good for American national security, but most importantly, an opportunity to be successful in terms of economic growth and what have you, just by a change that we hope to bring to the table. That will be probably over $1 trillion worth of impact and revenue to the American economy just by Iran's market being open to America, and how much we stand to benefit from billions of dollars willing to be invested into Iran. All that was needed was for this regime to no longer be there. And I think that is something that should be important to America and Iran both.
For more on this, please be joined by Stephen Bucci, served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now visiting fellow at Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me back on the show, and obviously you got lots to talk about this morning.
Yeah, so, the prospect, I know it's early, but the prospect that you could actually have a real paradigm shift in Tehran, and is there any sort of obvious player or individual that emerges in your mind, or we hope should? Is it Pahlavi? Is it somebody else? Do we know?
Well, I can tell you, I seriously doubt it's the secretary of the National Security Council that you talked about. He's still doing the death to America thing and talking the typical, Iranian bluster.
Well, he may not make it to the other side either. I mean, I'm not talking about him. Yeah,
he's kind of on the next list. So, but that solution, that Mullah light kind of thing, is a possibility. I don't think that's going to be a possibility that's acceptable to the Iranian people. You might get a group like that to say, okay, we'll get rid of the nuclear enrichment, we'll get rid of the ballistic missiles, we'll stop funding terrorism around the world. But those guys, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. And I don't think the Iranian people will either. So then you move to the next set of options. The Crown Prince is one, but we saw it during the operations in Iraq that the draw of the expats sounds really well, briefs really well, but isn't always what the people inside the country are looking for. So it may turn out that the people embrace him, they love him, and he's the man, but that is still definitely remains to be seen kind of situation. So that leaves something in the middle. Some unnamed guy from inside the country that stands up. The people in the country rally around him, and they demand some sort of democratic structure to replace what the monarchy they had before and the crazy mullah regime that they've been living under for the last 50 plus years, or almost 50 years.
And we can we can be certain that this has all been game planned out by Intel. They're obviously not going to disclose who they prefer or what they think, how they think this could go, because they don't want to look like they're installing somebody there. It's got to be something that, comes from the people up, not from America over, right?
Yeah, even more so than in Venezuela. Venezuela, is a different level of operation. We took out Maduro in Venezuela, and, some of his military guys. We didn't do anything near what we're doing in Iran right now. And it was a very different situation. So they're going to the successor in place kind of thing. That made some degree of sense for now. We're still working with that. We still got our thumb on them to try and change it. With Iran, I don't think that's going to be acceptable. We have to have a new government to make this work. And it can't be one that's just, the mullahs take off their robes and put on a tie.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's going to cut it. And I think the Iranian people, even whatever the intel community thinks is going to happen, it's probably not it. It's going to be something else. It's probably going to be a person that we did not anticipate, but hopefully somebody who can convince his people, I have your interests at heart. I'm going to work with people that are good to us, and I'm going to fight against people that would harm you. And that kind of message will resonate with the frankly very educated, very in many cases sophisticated population of Iran who want normality. And haven't had that.
And part of that, I would expect, as we were talking about last hour with David Dowd from Foundation for Defense of Democracies, would be for this new government a decoupling from China. I mean, you can't have the Chinese doing supersonic missile deals and propping up their crude oil industry if you're going to be aligned with America in the West.
That's right. And I think they realize they don't have to do those kind of things if they're not spending all of their money funding terrorism around the world, building intercontinental ballistic missiles they don't need, because you can't really use those to deliver, nice carpets and stuff like that around the world. And for sure don't need, nuclear weaponry. Having nuclear power, okay, if they want that, we were trying to set up that kind of deal with them.
Yeah.
It gets enriched outside the country. It gets delivered to them. They run it in their power plants. They don't really need that. They got oil to use. But if they suddenly became part of the Green Coalition and they want somebody else to take all that dirty oil, that can probably be accommodated around the world. That would have the effect of putting China back in its place, but also would draw funding and support away from Russia. So, a lot of good things can happen here. They just have to, find a leader who's willing to make the deals to do that. And it doesn't mean we need somebody to be a toady to America or to Donald Trump. We need somebody who can manage that country and make it a legitimate, contributor in the international space.
So if this campaign is sustained for the next 4 weeks, as Trump has indicated, do you have any doubt that we're going to get regime change there?
I think we will. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see the mullah's light stay in power. That's just I don't believe so. Particularly if it goes 4 weeks. We've obviously shown the inclination. The Israelis for sure have that we want to go beyond that. This is not a punitive raid where you just knock down some structures and some headquarters, take out a few missile facilities, and then walk away when they can still rebuild it all. This is going to be pulling the root here with the leadership, with those capacities that, frankly, the country doesn't need and the rest of us see as a threat, and some sort of governmental structure that's willing to play nicely with its neighbors and the rest of the world.
Have you been surprised by the Iranian retaliation? I mean, it strikes me, all things considered, as rather anemic.
It's anemic, but it's also kind of like the death throes. This was clearly something that was on the books. Okay, if they get the supreme leader and the other leadership, this is what you guys should do, lower level commanders. Here's the plan. And it's not terribly effective. They're using up missiles they have very quickly to very little effect, other than in the eyes of some of the news people in America who are like, oh, my God, they hit a building. Well, nobody was hurt. Oh, but they hit a building. Calm down.
Right.
This is not a coordinated, comprehensive, retaliatory campaign. This is, oh my God, we're in trouble. Start pushing the buttons. And I think that was already set. And again, it was set, but not terribly effectively. Which, to be honest with you, is not surprising because they lost a ton of that capacity, which wasn't really effective then during the 12-day war with Israel. And now they're just doing more of it. So I think that's going to peter out here shortly as people say, you know what, I really didn't like these guys anyway, and walk away. And the fact that just logistically, they're going to start running out of Schlitz. And that's going to, bring this thing to a conclusion quickly, particularly as every time one of those launchers rolls out and starts to elevate its erector, that somebody takes it out. We've got air dominance there, us and the Israelis. We can basically plink whatever we want to in there.
That's what
have, AWACS over it, finding this stuff, and then taking it out. So I'm not sure it's going to last 4 weeks. I'd like to see it go less.
Sure. That's what Cotton was referring to as, taking out the archers rather than the arrows. That's what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. The response from, the reflexively anti-Trump, noted Russia collusion propagandist Adam Schiff. This is the position that basically congressional neo-Marxists have landed on. This is what he said to Clinton Foundation donor Zero on his little show.
The Ayatollah Khamenei led a regime that brutalized its own people, launched attacks around the world for almost 40 years. So is the president right to take him out?
No, you're right about the Ayatollah. He was a brutal dictator. This is a murderous regime. But at the same time, it posed no imminent threat of attack to the United States.
That's what we got. We got War Powers Act invocations, no imminent threat. You have to talk to Congress, even though we're just going to dither. We don't really want to do anything, that sort of thing. Your response to the no imminent threat argument?
Well, as a guy who knows lots of people that have died because of Iran, I would say they have been a threat for a long time. We have been at war with Iran for a long time by their choice. The Beirut barracks bombing, I knew Marines who died there. I know other Marines who served there and helped pick up the pieces of their buddies there. The roadside improved IEDs that were used in Iraq all came from Iran. I'm sorry, they don't get the protection of international law. They are a criminal organization, a criminal regime doing terrorist activities around the world. They're getting exactly what they deserved. They're ideological, true believers to the point of trying to kick off, their little fringe part of Shia Islam's apocalypse. They were and are an imminent threat to the United States as they stand. And I'm sorry, I wouldn't have talked to Adam Schiff about it either beforehand, because he would have immediately announced, like John Kerry did, that this was coming and put more people at risk. Those guys are all security risks. You know, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar were security risks. There was no way they should have been consulted ahead of time. The Big Eight was notified, and just as the War Powers Act, as it's developed, has used as a standard. And no, he doesn't have to get Congress's permission to do an attack like this. This isn't a war. This is a set of operations to remove a threat to the United States. If Adam Schiff didn't think they were a threat, he is even dumber than I thought he was.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. And don't underestimate how dumb Adam Schiff is, Stephen. That's the mistake you made. Stephen,
I stand corrected.
Yeah. Stephen, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too. And Stephen joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
I spent years in the Marine Corps learning discipline, attention to detail, and how to do the job right. I'm Jim Melchert, and these standards stayed with me when I founded Garage Store here in Chicagoland. Your garage is probably the most neglected part of the house. Cracked floors, clutter everywhere, and a lot of wasted space. Garage Store provides solutions for that. Built for Chicago weather, our beautiful, durable floor coatings can be installed in just 2 days. We also install heavy-duty cabinets, overhead storage, even vehicle lifts. From floor to ceiling, your garage will be transformed into a space you'll be proud of and a space your friends will envy. Plus, our in-house, professional, respectful crew delivers timely installs. See why thousands of Chicagoans are transforming their garages with Garage Store.
Schedule your free in-home garage makeover estimate today. Call 847-428-8862 or visit garage-store.com. That's garage-store.com. Garage Store, built on service, driven by quality. The following is a paid political announcement.
Law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
Opponents of this law are preying upon fear of change to lie and fearmonger.
JB and BJ are the liars and the fearmongers.
They are the sickness that is killing Illinois and Illinoisans. They give sanctuary to foreign predators and sanction to domestic repeat offenders while vilifying the police. A Cook County study found 74% of criminal defendants failed to show up to court after being released under Pritzker's Safety Act. Listen to this suburban police chief.
I don't call it the Safety Act. I call it the Unsafety Act because that's what it is. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me where does safety come in. Who are we keeping safe here when you call it the Safety Act?
Not you. I will repeal Pritzker's purge law and end JB and BJ's killing spree before it hits you. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
AM 560, The Answer.
Somebody else's stupidity that can't be underestimated is Governor Jelly Belly. I mean, he really is just a rotund, dumb lummox. Here's his knee-jerk Schiffian response to Trump's remarks on Saturday explaining the combat operations that were initiated against Iran. Jelly Belly, no justification, no authorization from Congress, and no clear objective. But none of that matters to Donald Trump, and apparently neither do the safety and lives of American service members. Right. Mr. Public Safety, Jelly Belly. It's been disclosed, the Gang of 8 was notified. That's bipartisan notification. That's all that's required under the War Powers Act. There was no additional authorization that was needed. As he should know if he wasn't a rotund, dumb lummox. And in terms of laying out the objective, he explicitly did it in his 8 minutes worth of remarks on Saturday. He actually led with it, with a bit of a review of the last 47 years leading up to present, where they have reinitiated their nuclear weaponization program, which is a red line. But other than that, great comment. I'm sure it will suffice for the similarly lummoxed J.B. Pritzker voters. Coming up at 7:37, we'll turn our attention to matters economic when Chris Whalen joins us. Chris Whalen, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 27 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Circuit Court of Cook County is warning folks about a scam involving fake hearing notices for unpaid parking tickets. Officials say the fraudulent document instructs folks to scan a QR code to submit payment and threatens court action. The court says it does not send notices in that format or request payment through QR codes. Anyone who receives a notice is urged not to respond and instead report it to law enforcement and the Illinois Attorney General's office. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is reportedly structuring the city's debt with a deal that makes no payments for the next 3 years. The Chicago Tribune editorial board found the city is preparing to solicit bond investors for more than $500 million to cover back pay that's owed to firefighters and anticipated costs to settle lawsuits. The report says the cost of the debt is likely to rise as investors demand higher yields in response to Chicago's precarious financial condition. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check for the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder explains how prices come down.
GDP growth last quarter, 4.4%, 4.3%. People's incomes are rising faster than inflation. Everything is driven by gas prices. Everything has to be transported. So when people are paying far less now for gas than they were 5 years ago, it is a huge, huge boost to the wallet. And I think Trump deserves a lot of praise for this.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
As the seasons change, so does the worry. The flu, cold, and COVID season is coming, making a lot of people feel anxious. But what if you don't have to feel that way? My name is Dr. Michael Huber, one of the developers of Virago, the liquid immune enhancement cocktail. Virago was formulated in a liquid to enhance absorption and provide a rapid response. Comprised of 23 natural ingredients chosen for their synergistic properties, it gives your immune system the boost it needs to fight whatever virus is out there. So with the Virago Boost, you can face the coming flu season feeling confident that you are protected. With Virago, you're not fighting the seasons, you're ready for them. Virago, power to defend. Maha starts with Virago.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. That's myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before, since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller, The Dragon's Prophecy, combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza, now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, "After hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today! Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words "switch today" in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. On the south side in Englewood, everything is shut down on 76th Street, both ways between South Halsted Street and Low Avenue with an accident involving a police officer. We are looking at 15 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is 30 in both directions from O'Hare to the Bird Interchange, and the express lanes inbound hitting those brakes between Division Street and Ohio Street. We're also slow on the Jane Addams on the exit ramps eastbound to the Tri-State and to the road that leads you into O'Hare. The Eisenhower is 28 in, 20 out from Wolf to the old post office. Stop and go on the Stevenson inbound from Harlem Avenue to Western Avenue, so 29 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 15. This report is sponsored by WeatherBug. Get the fastest local alerts and accurate 24/7 forecasts with WeatherBug. It's easy to use and provides real-time customizable alerts, so the weather never takes you by surprise. Plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny and not as cold with a high of 44. Tonight, expect increasing cloud cover with spotty drizzle developing late and a low of 32. Tomorrow will bring occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. Wednesday carries a chance of rain with a high of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. New York City subway stories. How's it going under the newly minted Mamdani the commie? He got a shout out during the State of the Union. That was fun. About those highly paid snow shovelers. As long as they have two forms of ID, they can qualify. This woman posted about her husband's recent experience on the subway. My husband was on a crowded train yesterday when a homeless woman got on, pulled down her pants, and peed all over the train in front of everyone. He hasn't stopped talking about it for the past 24 hours. It's the single most traumatizing thing that's happened to him in New York City. Well, I think he better buckle up if that's the most traumatizing thing that's happened to him to date. Let's check in, see how things are going. I'm sure they're off to a fast start. Pleased to be joined by our friend Chris Whalen, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst, and author of Inflated, Money, Debt, and the American Dream, second edition. Chris, the most traumatizing thing that's happened to you in New York, particularly in the subway, if you'd like to share?
Oh, please. Going back to the 80s, it used to be very interesting on the subway.
We've all seen Warriors.
Times,
yeah.
But, survived. It's sad about that story of the homeless woman because there are so many people trapped in New York who can't leave. They're literally prisoners of Mayor Mamdani. And I think it's only going to get worse because, there's nothing that progressives can do about inflation. They caused the problem, first off, with our progressive friends in Washington. And now they fret about it and they offer supposed solutions to people in New York City. But, think about it. What's the federal poverty line right now? $40,000, $50,000 a year. You can't even exist in New York for $50,000 a year. You can't exist in New York for $100,000 a year. So what happens to these people?
Well, if the governor and the assembly would have the courage to raise the state income tax on millionaires, then everything would be fine.
No, they'll all move to Florida. We're moving, by the way. I'm going to be your neighbor soon.
Really?
Yep.
Whereabouts?
We're going to be just north of you in Estero.
Oh, very nice.
On Wildcat Run. We've got some friends who live there, and it's beautiful. And the thing is, Florida real estate is so expensive now. They don't build ranches anymore. They build two-stories. So they can cram them all in and, sell you the house for $2 million. And they don't build golf courses anymore because the land is too expensive. The builders get it first.
Well, I got some good news for you. That old corkscrew in Estero that David Hoffman bought, he's going to redo that and turn it into a private club for a man of your stature. So it's going to be right there. And that's good.
Wildcat. Wildcat's a great club, great community.
Yeah. Well, you also have, Estero, you also have two Ritz residences, or you have a Ritz hotel and a Ritz residence in Estero. It's crazy, the development. It's funny how that works.
But they limit it, and they have very tough zoning in Estero, unlike the other towns. So they won't let you just build anything you want, and this has actually resulted in one of the big home builders sitting on a large development property because they can't meet the zoning requirements.
Well, that's all good. I'm very happy for you. That's wonderful.
We'll do in studio in Naples. That sounds
yeah, and we'll do a home and home. I haven't played Wildcat Run. So,
anytime you want.
Beautiful.
It's lovely.
Beautiful. All right, good. All right, so we're just sticking on taxes for a second. This is interesting. If the Yankees or the Mets are thinking about picking up Merrill Kelly from the Diamondbacks, you might want to think again. The San Diego Padres thought they had secured a deal for Merrill Kelly from the Diamondbacks with an offer of $40 million for 2 years. But that's not good enough. He's deciding to stick with the Diamondbacks that are offering the same payout over 3 years. Why wouldn't you take $20 million over 2 as opposed to, $20 million a year over 2 as opposed to what turns out to be, about 16.5 over 3? Oh, because of California's tax burden.
Yep.
It doesn't make. It's like the story about Sam Darnold. It cost him money to play in the Super Bowl. It doesn't make economic sense. Merrill Kelly either is smart or he has a good agent. It doesn't make economic sense for me to take that deal in San Diego as opposed to stick with the deal the Diamondbacks are offering me in Arizona.
No, and if you're a high-end performer and you spend any time at all in either of those jurisdictions, they whack you by the day.
Yeah, right.
Or,
Exactly.
J-Lo, and you do a show at Madison Square Garden, they whack her by the day. And this is going to end badly. That's all I can say.
Hey, something else that's gaining some steam, real popular. We're going to restart and spread out Section 8 housing in Illinois for all the suburbs. I think they call it affordable housing. I call it Section 8 because that's what it is, and it has the proper connotation as opposed to this utopian connotation. But in Illinois, there is legislation afoot to provide accessory dwelling units, often referred to as granny lots, that are currently in areas zoned for single-family homes, because according to some left-wing think tank, Illinois has a shortage, and I don't know how they calculate this with such specificity, but of course it's accurate and can't be questioned. Illinois has a shortage of 142,000 homes and needs to build 227,000 units over the next 5 years to keep up with demand, even as the state is seeing people flee like it's on fire. But okay, sure. What do you think about, and I'm sure Mamdani is going to go down this road too, the road that Brandon Johnson is going on, which is like turn the financial district into Section 8 housing towers.
Sure.
So the big push, we've got this affordability problem, Chris, and we have a shortage of houses on the market. So Section 8, the places that'll create some more space.
It's not a left-wing idea. Let me tell you, one of the proponents of changing zoning to allow for greater density in existing lots, single-family lots, right, including renting out rooms and things of this nature, is at Pinto, the American Enterprise Institute. You don't get much more conservative than that.
But I mean, but part of this is, part of it is zoning, but the real part of it is subsidy. That's the point.
Oh yeah,
rent
and
guarantees.
it doesn't work. It's like New York. When you talk about Section 8, landlords, these are people who are on the brink of default because they can't make enough money on the property to take care of it and then have anything left over for themselves. There was a case earlier this year where Mr. Mamdani, who had just gotten into office, tried to intervene in the sale of about 5,000 rent-stabilized units in New York City. And, the developer was going bust. Another one was queued up to buy them. I don't know why. And Mamdani has actually said in his filing, which the bankruptcy court rejected, that there wasn't enough rent to take care of the property. His solution, by the way, is to get rid of the landlord and any kind of equity ownership in the property, and then run them, as wards of the state. And that's what we have here. We have 500,000 units that are owned by the city of New York, Dan, and they can't take care of those.
Well, They're right. Horrible. It's like the Chicago Housing Authority and the towers back in the day. But they just scatter site is the same thing.
They want captive constituents who are dependent on them. Yeah. And meanwhile, people like us are moving to Florida. And by the way, Florida and Texas want to get rid of property taxes, which is a way of getting rid of the progressive model for public school.
Well, in Florida, in Florida, it's really interesting. Now, the proposal out of the House is eliminate non-school property taxes for all homesteaded properties, and probably something less robust will come out of the Senate. But the conversation is about reducing property taxes. It's going in that direction. Who wants to reduce them more? Who wants to give people more more equity in their homes and protect home values? And meanwhile, New York City, it's just an incredible stat last week. The Mamdani's proposed budget for New York City is bigger than the actual state budget for the state of Florida, which has 3 times the population. It's crazy.
It's the great progressive experiment. There are no other cities in the world that have extended public subsidies the way New York has. And this goes back a century to people like Robert Moses, remember. we don't have that now, and we don't have the income now per head that we did in those days. My ancestors who helped build some of those projects, at the time there were 12, 15 workers per retiree. Now it's flipped around. And if you look at the residents of rent-stabilized apartments in New York, they are increasingly elderly. These are people who are sheltering in place. So they have no flexibility in their income. And the cost of running these properties goes up every year. So the only answer is for the city to subsidize it, as you say, right? But that's got a limited lifespan, too, because they can't keep up with the cost increases. Eventually, they'll have to sell those properties and let them be redeveloped. And you know what they'll build? Condos. They won't build rentals.
Fallout from the Supreme Court decision on tariffs, is that now, and I know there's more litigation that still has to happen with respect to the questions about things like rebates, but has that now been sort of priced into the market, and the jitters about this being a cataclysmic event engendering all sorts of chaos are subsiding?
Oh, yeah, I never thought it was significant. Last year, I told our readers to ignore the tariff announcement by Trump. It was a great trading opportunity, by the way. That was your signal to come in and buy a lot of stocks that got crushed. And today, again, it was a nothing burger. I think the bigger issue that we wrote about this morning in our bank report is all of the loans that have been made to these non-bank financial companies, software companies, AI, all of this detritus from last year. Last year is going to go down as a remarkable year. A lot of spec, a lot of craziness, a lot of hubris. And this year, we're going to come to Jesus. I think you could see a major bank crisis in this country this year simply because of all the silly loans and the unused credit, by the way, that's available to these companies. It's just sitting there. We're talking about trillions of dollars.
And is it any particular sector that you're zeroing in on?
Tech, broadly defined. UBS came out and said that they think the private equity sector could see 15% defaults. Okay, that's 2 times higher than 2008. So that gives you a sense of how big the pile of crapola is.
Yeah, but you're seeing even though like Salesforce is getting hit and there's this sort of run against software companies right now, but you're still seeing record revenues.
Well, record reported revenues, but remember, a lot of these companies are walking wounded. Many of them have defaulted. They can't pay their debt. So you know what they do? They pay people equity, payment in kind. And this is what we call POOP, which is principal on original principle.
It's a wonderful acronym.
Everybody in the risk community knows about this. Some of the regulators know about this, but the banks are forbearing on these loans. They're looking the other way. Jamie Dimon said it. He said, when you see one of these things, you know that there are more cockroaches. And that's what we've got. There was a default in the UK by a company called MFS, a mortgage lender. And guess what? They double-pledged all the collateral. So some of the big guys like Apollo and TPG are looking at big loss on that insolvency. And I think you'll see more. But whenever you see one of these where people are committing fraud and playing games with collateral on a secured borrowing, there's more.
And I think when we talked, you were pretty sanguine that the plummeting value of commercial real estate was not going to be an anchor, and banks would survive that, and they seem to mostly have. But just looking at Chicago, I mean, we see more and more buildings that are selling for pennies on the dollar of what they sold for even 4 or 5 years ago. And somebody has to be taken in the pants, and I just wonder if you think that still is a problem area out there, generally speaking.
Oh, it is. For older properties, office properties, where the business use case has changed, and you don't have people lining up to rent those offices at the old valuations, yes, those buildings are going for pennies on the dollar. My favorite read, by the way, is The Real Deal, which covers the commercial sector, soup to nuts. They're really great. New stuff is still okay, but whether it's Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, all of these properties have been marked down dramatically. And that does mean losses, mostly for bondholders in what we call the commercial mortgage market, but banks too. Banks tend to hold the better stuff, and they finance the rest of it in the bond market. So it's bond investors who are going to get shellacked.
So your overall outlook from this year is a reckoning?
Yes, last year was crazy. Last year was happy days and crypto and all the rest of it. This year, I think we come to Jesus. We had falling default rates, even though everybody thought there was going to be a recession. You remember, the end of 2023? Nope. So for the last year, we've had reported default rates falling, even though you can hear screaming and yelling in the background, like you said, commercial. So this year, I think the regulators and, frankly, the banks themselves are going to have to come to Jesus on a lot of this stuff.
So when Besant is out there pumping the BBB and its impact and the CapEx spend that's going on, and that's going to be, this is the first year of the golden era, you're saying no?
No, I think we could have yet another financial crunch by the end of Trump too. It happened in the first run. We had COVID, right? But this time it's going to be low. First off, commercial real estate. Next year in 28, we're going to be talking about a decline in residential real estate. And why is Chris hitting the bid on his house here in New York at a ridiculous price, by the way? Because I expect a correction next year. So that's why we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, blue states have no construction. So prices have held up pretty well. But that doesn't mean they're not going to correct downward.
For sure. In places like Illinois, Jersey, some New York to a certain extent too, under the weight of the negative multiplier of property taxes alone.
Oh, totally. But go back to your point about new 8A construction, right? There's no way to build that housing and make money. So it's going to have to be subsidized out of the gate, both by the state and the Fed. The Feds, are increasing their exposure to rental housing like this, and they're going to take losses as well. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, they all hold a couple $1 trillion worth of this stuff. And this is paper that the banks don't want and that the bond markets don't want. So where do they go? They go to Washington. That's the way it works.
Chris Whalen, very sobering discussion today with Chris Whalen, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, editor of the Institutional Risk Analyst, and author of the book Inflated: Money, Debt, and the American Dream, second edition. Chris, thank you as always.
Have a great day, Dan. I'll see you in Florida.
Love it. Glad you're coming down. And Chris joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, I promise, multiple times this morning, we'll get to the Clinton depositions on the Epstein files. But at 8:08, we're checking in with Joe Abraham, father of Katie Abraham, on all things immigration and sanctuary state related. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
This is a Fox News Alert, an update from the Pentagon. I'm Dave Anthony.
The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth on day 3 of the U.S. and Israeli attacks.
To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless.
And as Iran fights back, the secretary adds,
war is hell and always will be. A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured.
The military's Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane just said additional U.S. forces are being deployed, and this mission is going to take some time.
And in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses.
Iran's supreme leader has been killed among the 500-plus deaths in Iran, and Fox's Stephanie Bennett reports.
Hundreds of targets in Iran have already been hit. 9 of the country's ships have been destroyed, and the entire military command has gone. In retaliation, Iran has targeted neighboring Gulf states. This morning, smoke was seen rising from the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, while the U.S. military said 3 U.S. fighter jets crashed due to an apparent friendly fire incident. All crew members ejected safely.
The State Department has a worldwide caution alert for Americans everywhere, with many U.S. embassies in the Middle East either evacuated or with a shelter-in-place order. Israel has been under counterattack on 2 fronts. Hezbollah launching rockets from Lebanon, prompting a deadly Israeli retaliation, as Iran also keeps firing.
New incoming ballistic missile fire hitting Israel today in the southern city of Beersheba. At least 10 people were wounded and taken to a local hospital when one of those Iranian missiles slipped past air defense systems.
Fox's Trey Youngston, Tel Aviv, at least 9 Israelis have been died in the Iranian attacks. Oil prices are surging. Stock market sell-off looms. America's listening to Fox.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Candidates vying for the Republican nomination to take on Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker have laid out how they plan to approach the energy policy. Greg Bishop reports.
On the issue of energy, DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick said Democrats' focus on wind and solar is misguided.
We need to open up our coal mines. We have 500 years of coal all over Illinois, and now there's these things called scrubbers that make it the most cleanest energy source you could have.
Ted Dabrowski said he would declare an energy crisis.
And what we'll do is we'll continue to produce coal, we'll continue to produce natural gas, because we will not take that power away from you or let your power bills spike like they've already done.
Also running is businessman Rick Heidner, who said taking away coal was, quote, insanity.
Early voting is underway for the March 17th primary election. Police are searching for a 23-year-old man who disappeared Friday after he was dropped off at O'Hare International Airport for a flight to France. Authorities say Elijah Horde never checked in for his flight and has not been seen since. His family says his phone has been turned off and he may be in need of assistance. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Chicago police. A West Suburban man is being held after prosecutors say he stabbed his housemate. Authorities say Ernesto Granados had been released a day earlier on misdemeanor charges tied to the same home before allegedly returning with a knife. The victim was taken to an area hospital, and a judge has ordered Granados to be jailed pending trial. News is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family-owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship that you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com. That's SteinerHomesLTD.com. Northwest Indiana's leading home builder, Steiner Homes. Love where you live. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Brent crude, the global benchmark, has topped $76 a barrel. Barron says the attack on Iran has led to a worst-case scenario for the oil markets. Closure of the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil flows. A prolonged closure could send international prices over $100 a barrel. That level hasn't hit since 2022. Though the strait isn't formally closed, insurers say they will cancel policies for tankers going through it. Airlines and cruise stocks are among the worst hit this morning. Though missile strikes across the region are expected to disrupt travel, Barron says the biggest concern is the rise in fuel prices. Carnival and Royal Caribbean have been down as much as 6%. United Airlines, Delta, and American shares have been down 5%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Alex Marlow explains the good news.
We've got numbers that are just beyond belief here. The best core CPI since March 2021, which means we've erased the inflation from the Biden inflation, which is so great. Prices are down for used cars, gasoline, medicine, and electricity. And the market thinks this isn't just one good report, but a sign that inflation is low enough that the Fed can start cutting rates again, which is huge.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlow's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Breakfast burritos for the morning brainstorm. Easy Cater. Paninis for the lunch and learn. Easy Cater. Barbecue for the clients from Boston. Easy Cater. Brownie boxes and mini bundt cakes for Brenda's workiversary. Easy Cater. One simple platform to feed any size group with food they love from favorite restaurants, plus tools to help you meet dietary needs and stay on budget. Easy Cater. All the food for your workplace, all in one place. Start an order at easycater.com.
Are you a fraud-paying American? 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans have been victim of identity fraud. With LifeLock, your identity, if it's stolen, they fix it guaranteed or your money back. And last year, billions in refunds were stolen. Could be from your salary, overtime, or second job. Gone. But this year, you don't need to stay a victim. Because this tax season, fraud-paying American is something no American should have to claim. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms do apply.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It was out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center on the tollways, northbound 355, you've got a crash near North Avenue, taking out 2 right lanes there. It's causing a backup. Otherwise, your tollways have the typical delays on the expressways. The Edens is moving well. Inbound Kennedy, 33 minutes from O'Hare to downtown with your normal slow pockets. The outbound Kennedy, it's going to take 40 minutes to get out to the airport. It's tight between Montrose and Sayre. Inbound Eisenhower, 34 from Wolf to the old post office. Outbound side, just 20 minutes back out to Wolf. Inbound Stevenson, you're looking at 33 minutes in from the Tri-State. Inbound side of the Ryan will take you 30 minutes in from 95th Street to the Merge. Outbound side looking good. This report is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. See Marvin Products in their beautiful showroom at the corner of Lake and Gary and Roselle, or visit woodlandwindows.com for a free in-home expert consultation. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect mostly sunny skies with temperatures reaching a high of 44. Tonight, the weather will become cloudy with spotty drizzle developing late and temperatures dropping to a low of 32. Tomorrow, anticipate occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Ibrahim Callan is an illegal alien from Sierra Leone. His visitor visa expired in 2024. He has been arrested while training to be a Delaware County Prison Corrections Officer and charged by local police there for rape, involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, sexual assault, aggravated indecent assault, false imprisonment, and indecent assault. But wait, it gets worse. We're in Delaware. Delaware County Prison sent him back into the community despite an ICE immigration detainer. So ICE officers from the Philadelphia office had to arrest him at large in the community a couple weeks back in February. A man enters the country illegally from Sierra Leone, applies to be a corrections officer at a prison, is hired. During the training, he's charged with, sounds like, kidnapping and rape and a bunch of other violent crimes. He's arrested. ICE puts a detainer on him. Prison lets him go because it's sanctuary. They're in a quote unquote sanctuary for predators. And then ICE has to go track him down in the neighborhoods. Over and over and over again. It's got to be maddening for angel families. It really does. The occasion of last week, both the State of the Union address as well as the declaration of Angel Family Day, February 22nd, thought it would be good to check back in with our friend Joe Abraham and get his perspective. He's been quite busy, I've seen, really providing leadership on this issue through giving interviews and willing to talk about it and write op-eds about it. And some parents, and you don't judge. Some parents are comfortable doing that and others are not, but it's important to have leadership from those families who've been victimized through the lawlessness that is endorsed by, a party that represents approximately half the country. I don't know. Joe Abraham is the father of Katie Abraham, of course, who was killed in Illinois by a person here illegally when she was down visiting friends at U of I. Joe, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan.
So I know you went to the White House for the Angel Family Day thing, right?
Yeah, we were at the White House on Monday. It was a great, Dan, it was a mixed feeling, right? Because it was great that Donald Trump has recognized us, where, say, J.B. Pritzker has tried to erase and ignore Katie's life and death. But I also had mixed feelings because it was almost disbelief Dan, that this is where we are as a country now, that we were so irresponsible and insidious in the prior administration and the current administration here in Illinois, that now we've got so many of these angel families that are suffering and in pain. And now we have to have a day to recognize that. I honestly, truly never thought we'd ever be here, but here we are.
Yeah, I thought one of the more poignant moments that I saw online from the events of that day was the reading of the names of the victims. And that took almost 5 minutes to read the names of victims, of families in attendance. I mean, that's a lot of names, and some people are more pronounced than others in terms of got more notoriety, and some families are more, as I said, public about it than others, and that's fine, however you want to handle it. But just the sheer amount of names should really hit people.
Yeah, and honestly, and that was a very small group of families that are life has been altered because of irresponsible and reckless policies. But think about the tens of thousands. Not everyone died like Katie, for example, but think of the tens of thousands of victims out there due to these awful policies. And I remember back in June 2025, J.B. Pritzker was yelling at Congress when we were sitting there, where he ignored me and Katie's life at the congressional hearings. He said, the big, beautiful bill will kill people, and therefore it should never pass. Meanwhile, the fact that he's just untethered to hypocrisy and he's so comfortable with it, meanwhile, he does nothing to readdress or reassess his damaging sanctuary policies. Have they not killed people? Yes, but he continues to double down. And it seems to me now that I'm paying more attention, I should say, the fact that the J.B. Pritzkers of the world are so comfortable with hypocrisy is really distressing. And I don't know why Illinois, I'm talking to Illinois voters. You got to help us. This is not a compassionate man. And God forbid anything happens to any Illinois voters, he will turn his back on you as fast as he can. And he will not care. He will not be sympathetic. You will be an inconvenience that he will try to erase and ignore.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from the very public stances you're taking, from the editorials you're writing, from the interviews you're giving? How do people receive you, particularly if they sort of are inclined to disagree with you? Are they respectful, or are they just so radicalized, I guess, by these policies and the rhetoric of politicians like Pritzker that you feel heat from them as well?
Dan, at this point, I don't really care what anyone says. I'm sort of in the grave with Katie. So what are they going to do? I am not worried about anything when it comes to that, right? I'm in such a place that bring it on. I don't even care. But what kills me, what I don't understand is where ideology is first, right? This is your North Star, and this North Star is blinding you because when it comes down to the only thing you have is your team and your ideology and policies that are reckless, it doesn't matter as long as it's your team doing it. It, to me, is just not very coherent, and it's not thoughtful, right? So when the J.B. Pritzkers of the world are setting up the state in such a miserable way, and then they do not have any consideration, they don't do the hard work of trying to understand what's happening within the state and why everyone's leaving. And the hard work is just left to the side, and you take the easy way out. You kick the side door open, and you let hundreds of thousands of people running around our communities. We have no idea who they are or what they're all about, and that's not okay.
Well, the flip side. So let me ask the flip side, the positive side. I know you recently gave a talk up in New Trier on the North Shore for New Trier neighbors, and and I just wonder, maybe like people are hearing your story, that do agree, sensible policies, immigration, law enforcement, things like that. But it takes sort of a motivational story, and in this case, unfortunately, a tragic story, sometimes to get people to engage. And I wonder if you're encouraged by the talks you're giving and what you're doing, the feedback you're getting that is getting people engaged on the issue.
Yes. So it's been pretty positive, Dan. Actually, I have to say, when I think there's a group of people that are just so ideologically driven that nothing will change there. But I do feel a sense the ones in the middle, maybe the left middle, are listening and understanding that this is not okay, and how the state is being run and how we were treated is not okay. So I do feel, one at a time, we're making a difference. I know I just set up a Substack so I could put my writings in there, and a lot of people have mentioned that to me. So this is my first foray into that. But yeah, Dan, I get exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. There's a group that will never move, and I think we are reaching one at a time, just so folks can understand that we can do better, and we can be more thoughtful, and we could be less partisan, and we can be less hypocritical. So I do think that resonates a little bit.
Yeah. That you're reaching some of the people who are reachable is essentially what you're saying. But that's encouraging, because that's the mission field. The people that are fully engaged, you got them. The people that you said have ideological blinders on, you're not going to get them. So it's the vast middle there of people who are sort of marginally engaged and try to be reasonable and empathetic to people who have been wronged, as your family has. That's encouraging. I mean, I think it's encouraging to believe that there are people in Chicagoland that still fit that description, frankly.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. They are willing to listen, and whether they move away from, like, say, the J.B. Pritzkers, I'm not sure, but they're willing to listen. They are distressed on how the state and our politicians have handled this. I think they start to realize that the chaos in the streets, let's say from ICE, they're starting to understand when I talk about that the J.B. Pritzkers of the world, the Tony Pretwells and Mayor Johnson, they need ICE so they have something else to talk about. And then even the hypocrisy, like, let's say, up in Minnesota, Dan, there's two people that put themselves, look, no one should ever die. I've been there. I bury a child, so I understand this. But no one should put themselves in a bad situation and in the middle of a law enforcement situation and think the outcome is going to be good. And to do it for fallen politicians, corrupt politicians, is just so unacceptable to put yourself in that situation. Now, the other thing is where the hypocrisy comes in, when the millions were at the border, people dying on the journey, people being raped, kids being exploited, kids being lost, cartels making billions of dollars now because we're moving people around and we've allowed that. Where were they down in the southern border? Where was the principle? You should have, if you cared so much about these people, you should have went down there. You should have said, we need an orderly process. To allow millions to bum rush the border doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the citizens, which you're responsible for, and doesn't help the actual migrants bum rushing the border. You're not helping anybody. Look at the guy who killed Katie. They didn't help him a whit. And now he'll spend decades in jail. Bang up job, Illinois. You killed a young woman, and now you're gonna have to support a guy in jail for years. You didn't help him on his health. You didn't help him in his language. You did nothing. It was a free. Think about how many of these people they call our neighbors that are in our communities. For example, again, the guy who killed Katie had HIV in our communities. Was he reckless? Yes, I believe he was. We know he had multiple partners. Couldn't read or write. Couldn't speak Spanish or English. Driving around in our communities. Where was the help Illinois gave him? Now he's going to spend decades, hopefully, in jail. So Illinois has failed at every single turn. And to think that these politicians have the face to stand up to the voters and say, put me back in office. As a matter of fact, politics, that I can tell now that I'm paying attention, is the only industry that you can fail and get promoted. I would have been fired 15 times over if I behaved like this and performed like this on my outcomes.
The time that you spent with other angel families in D.C., what is that like? Is that cathartic for you and your family to just exchange stories and talk about what what people are respectively doing in their communities?
It's so it's so painful, Dan. I don't know how else to say it, to listen to these stories and these families going through what we're going through. People don't seem to realize that you can't just brush us off. Like, our whole lives have been altered. We are in a dark wilderness trying to find a new path. We thought we had Katie the rest of our lives. My only joy before January 25 was watching my 3 children grow up to be productive, good people. And my only challenge was, how is my work-life balance going to happen so I can spend time with them? This has completely altered our lives. And think about the tens of thousands of lives that have been altered. And it's not okay to brush us off. I mean, the media, to me, has been disgusting on this topic. They want it to go away because of their ideology, and that's not okay. That's not good enough. That's awful. You are not truth tellers. These media folks, these outlets like the New York Times and CBS and ABC, all these people, CNNs of the world, are very, very, should not be listened to. They are not serious. They're actually silly. They have no North Star other than their ideology, and that's what blinds them. They ought to speak up and talk about these angel families. You don't have to talk about me. I would love to talk about them and the nonsense they spew. I would love to do that. But don't talk to me then. Go talk to other families. There are so many. You probably can't figure out who to pick. You've created so many of these angel families, and it's just not right, and it's not the way things get done.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you continuing to take up the fight. Hopefully it will inspire more to do so. Joe Abraham, father of Katie Abraham. Joe, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, guys.
And Joe joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello?
Sir, this is Officer Peterson. There's been a string of break-ins in the area, and your office, it was hit.
Hit? What do you mean? We were robbed?
Looks like the back door lock was easily pried open, and they moved through the building like they knew exactly what to take. We see wires everywhere. No computers.
What? No computers? I just upgraded everything.
Looks like they moved fast. We only found out because a neighboring business had their alarm go off. Do you have any security cameras?
No, nothing.
Don't wait until it's too late. Goldilocks protects Chicagoland businesses with custom security solutions. From reinforced commercial doors with keyless entry to cameras and 24/7 monitoring that alerts authorities immediately. Schedule a free on-site assessment at GoldilocksInc.com. Again, that's GoldilocksInc.com. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicago's premier locksmith, doors, and security systems company since 1981.
You know, you really have to believe in peaceful pluralism to listen to Joe Abraham talk about what happened to Katie and not want to throttle these sanctuary politicians. And I do believe in peaceful pluralism, and I advocate for peaceful pluralism. So it has to be done rhetorically and through elections. But, I mean, bad people, really bad people. Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down, but here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed, and it didn't happen in an operating room. I know this because I've met some of the patients. Dr. Calvelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea is back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down, so don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics' regenerative treatments, and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation are free, so call now, 312-827-6261. The number is 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, "After hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today!" Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words "switch today" in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
Systems are rock solid. There could be cracks you don't see. Don't leave your technology to chance. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge to find out. For more than 30 years, Access One has helped businesses strengthen their security, protect their data, and improve resistance to cyber vulnerabilities, all with reliable U.S.-based support. And here's their promise. If their experts can't identify at least one measurable improvement to your IT systems and processes based on NIST or CIS regulations, they will reward your compliance excellence with $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available to businesses with 25 to 500 employees, and it's a great way to verify your IT is secure and efficient. No gimmicks, just proven results from an experienced IT partner. So are you ready to put Access One to the test? To do so, visit accessoneinc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555 to schedule your risk assessment today. Again, that's Access One, the number spelled out, O-N-E, accessoneinc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, as promised, finally, 8:38, Bill and Hillary's Epstein depositions, and we'll take your calls, 312-642-5600. 8:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Police are working to determine if the same individual is responsible for 3 drive-by shootings that happened within hours of each other last night. Police say 1 person has been killed, 3 others injured in those shootings, including a 15-year-old boy. In each of those instances, the vehicle involved was described as a black car, and witnesses had similar descriptions of the suspect. There are no suspects in custody. A group of 10 Chicago residents are stranded in Dubai following widespread flight cancellations that are tied to the conflict in the Middle East. The group had traveled to celebrate a friend's birthday, and they were supposed to return home yesterday. The group says they've contacted the airline and the U.S. Embassy, but have yet to receive new travel arrangements. Aviation experts are warning the disruptions may drive up ticket prices as the situation continues. And work begins today on a new Chicago Street interchange at I-80. Construction will be carried out in several stages, but initially will require lane closures in both directions of Chicago Street between McDonough Street and Doris Avenue. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder sees a glaring difference.
The numbers of deportations under Obama, they were greater than under Trump. The alleged abuses by ICE also took place under Obama, except only more so. So everything you say about what ICE is doing, people like the ACLU and other human rights organizations complained was taking place under Obama. The difference is the media did not care.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago immune support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
If moving safely around your home is a concern, you deserve clear answers, not a sales pitch. Access will help you improve home accessibility with practical solutions like lifts, grab bars, and home modifications, designed to fit your home, your needs, and budget. Experienced professionals will take the time to explain your options so you can make an informed decision. If staying safe and comfortable in your home matters to you, start with a free in-home consultation. Call Access at 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlow Podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlow Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. 15 minutes inbound on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 20. 40 in on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 37. The express lanes inbound slow down between Belmont Avenue and Ohio Street. Stop and go delays on the Eisenhower inbound between Central Avenue and Costner Avenue. So 37 minutes inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 20, 30 in, 19 out on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 28 in, 13 out. The express lane slow down between 47th Street and the Stevenson. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Don't wait to save. Mattress Firm's President's Day sale ends soon. Their sleep experts are highly trained to find the right bed for your specific needs. Easier search, better rest. Get both today. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny and not as cold with a high of 44. Tonight, expect increasing cloud cover with spotty drizzle developing late and a low of 32. Tomorrow will bring occasional rain and drizzle with a high of 45. Wednesday carries a chance of rain with a high of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Okay, so it was Hill Dog, Secretary of State Kankles on Thursday, and then it was Bill Dog on Friday. The Clintons finally sat down for depositions behind closed doors. The House Oversight Committee, the committee chaired by James Comer, to talk about everything they didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein. And actually, I don't know. It was about as underwhelming as I expected it would be, with categorical denials and actually House Republicans sort of making a bit of a mess of it. So Hillary Clinton wanted transparency, but House Republicans didn't.
Do you believe this was a fair hearing, and do you still want to testify publicly, even though you gave this deposition?
Well, I'm not going to do it again. They had a chance to do it in public, and I wish they had done it in public. And I think they're making the wrong decision, avoiding doing it in public. I thought it was very repetitive. I thought that they asked literally the same questions over and over again, which didn't seem to me to be very productive. And then, as I said, toward the end, there were other questions that were totally off subject. So if they are going to fulfill their responsibilities to literally investigate the investigations, which is what they originally said was the scope of their work, I think they could have spent the day more productively.
She might be right, unfortunately. Now, I did note this coverage. I thought this was an interesting nugget that came out of the deposition of Hillary. Hillary Clinton says she only recalls meeting Epstein that one time when she murdered him. I thought that was newsworthy. That's the Babylon Bee, so I may have to fact check that. She was also asked after the deposition about the picture of Ghislaine at Chelsea's wedding.
Can I ask, why was Ghislaine Maxwell invited to the daughter of Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010? She'd already been mentioned in a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre before that. Jeffrey Epstein had already been convicted before that.
She came as the plus one, the guest of someone who was invited.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
No, wait. Well, who was she the plus one of? This is like the sort of thing that you'd want to see maybe in real time and make sure that the proper follow-ups were asked and we get some information in a timely fashion. So you knew enough to know her and know she was there as somebody's plus one, so tell us more. But as she said, it was quite repetitive. And she nicely lobbed the whole matter back into Bill's court. Not quite Melinda Gates, but something along those lines. You want to know something about Epstein and what was going on with Epstein stuff, you got to have to talk to my husband.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how you have processed and reacted to the fact that the former president, your husband, Bill Clinton, is referenced in the Epstein files numerous times, including in some photos featuring women? And how have you been personally preparing for the deposition that is coming tomorrow? Are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier. But I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of people who had contact with him before his criminal pleas in 2008 were like most people. They did not know what he was doing. And I think that that is exactly what my husband will testify to tomorrow.
Wait, was Ghislaine Bill's plus one? Come on. Was Ghislaine Donna Shalala's plus one? Oh, come, nothing? And you have no interest in these women he's pictured with and no knowledge of them? It's just all part of a vast right-wing conspiracy? Jim Comer offered this sort of summary on Hillary's testimony, which is unremarkable, but consistent with what I was gathering from Hillary, which is you're going to have to talk to Bill.
The number of times that she said, I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband, was
more than a dozen, and I'll put it like that.
Okay, so let's ask him. Bill defended Hillary. He better. I have a feeling. That's the deal. Yeah, he's very upset about Hillary being whistled in. That wasn't right.
The girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been waiting too long for both. Though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication with what was truly going on, I offered the little I do know in the hopes that it would help prevent anything like this from ever happening again. I also have to say something personal. Republicans made Hillary testify yesterday, and she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of ever even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his properties. So whether 10 people or 10,000 people were subpoenaed, including her, was simply not right.
Not right, and there's no more substantive paragon of moral rectitude than Bill Clinton, I always say. 312-642-5600 if you want to weigh in on this, although it's just there's not really much to weigh in. I don't know how good a job the inquisitors did behind closed doors. They probably shouldn't have been behind closed doors, as I said. But it doesn't sound like anything important occurred that we're going to get any closer to anything resembling a clearer picture. And sort of a leading indicator of that is the some of the headlines coming out of Bill Clinton's deposition were things like, bipartisan support for Bill Clinton's answering of questions during his deposition and so on and so forth. That all sounds like it was very chummy, very collegial, and thus by definition, particularly futile. But he did want to know, he did go on the record because he's released this video after his deposition. He's going to beat them to the punch. Another reason why it should have been public and in real time, so you don't have this propagandizing right after, them controlling and sort of framing the message. He says unequivocally, we've been here before, something akin to, I did not have sexual relations with my best friend's underage sex slave, something like that.
So here's what I told the committee. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos they show of me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter far more than any interpretation of 20-year-old photos. I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. And I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing and I did nothing
of
wrong.
Course. So it did not have sexual
As someone who grew up in a
relations
home with domestic violence,
Uh-huh.
not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not the sweetheart deal that we got. But even with 20/20 hindsight, I saw nothing that ever gave me real pause. We're only here today because Epstein hid it from everyone so well for so long. And by the time it came to light with his 2008 guilty plea, I had long stopped associating with it. When the video of my testimony today is released, I hope it will motivate everyone to go in front of Congress to say what they know. I hope it will motivate the Justice Department to finally release all the files and to ensure that this never happens again. The survivors deserve that.
He's very concerned about the survivors, as you would expect. He saw nothing. He knows nothing. He did nothing. History rhyming, if not repeating itself. John in Janesville.
Hey, I just found it interesting that Bill said that Hillary had no memory of meeting Epstein. It sounded like her when she was testifying before the Benghazi committee, how she didn't have any memory of anything. She must just have a bad memory altogether.
Well, I think it cuts in and out a little bit, John, depending on what she's trying to remember or what she's asked to recall. I think, there's some short-circuiting that occurs. Same thing with Bill when he's not parsing words. Bill, Northwest Side.
Yeah, that soundbite, Dan, epitomizes why they call him Slick Willie, doesn't it?
Yeah, although I don't really think it's that slick. I think thanks for the call, Bill. I mean, so do you recall those women you're pictured in the hot tub with and the other pictures of you yucking it up with Jeffrey Epstein? So, like, when you were in a hot tub with that chick who I know you can't remember and nothing happened, what was that environment like? Like, what else was going on? What were the conversations with Jeffrey Epstein about the young women that were hanging around you and him when you were hanging around him? Paint a picture for us. Give us the context. Because you had no inkling that he was doing anything untoward until 2008 when he's convicted of basically being a pedophile. No inkling. Really. No idea that something was a little off center with that guy. So, okay, well, let's show, here's a picture. There's you. There's a girl in a jacuzzi, the two of you together. So you remember that conversation? You remember that girl? Maybe we could do a little bit of due diligence. They have to know who the girl is now and provide a little bit more background here. Maybe she said something that could be used to inquire the former president, used for inquiry with the former president to see if we've got different recollections of what did or did not occur, what he did or did not know. I mean, that with the photographic evidence of presence that indicates at minimum the appearance of compromise, then it seems to me like I want the whole, fill me in on all that. Give me all the details. I don't know that that happened. It doesn't sound like it did. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, no one could leave you in a haze better than the Clintons.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, George. Lee in Hammond.
It seems like, what scandal is this now? What's the count, like 278 or how? It seems like it's bounced along from one scandal to another one. Nothing in Washington changes. All they get is a lot of meetings, a lot of hot air and all that kind of thing, and nothing changes, which tells me that swamp is actually, I don't think it's a quagmire. It's the Amazon. I don't know what it is, but it looks like it'll never be cleaned up because they don't want it cleaned up. Why answer to the American people when it seems like they're having a good old time there in D.C.? They could care less about what happens to the public out here. They just do whatever they want.
Thanks for the call, Deep. Yeah, that swamp is deeper than it looks, isn't it? Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank.
If you're purchasing a new home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Kim, single mom, longtime renter, called David after reading several of his more than 700 five-star Google reviews to get pre-qualified to purchase her first home. David answered Kim's questions, supplied her realtor with numerous pre-approval letters until she located and purchased the perfect home for her and her 6-year-old daughter, Sophia that is, to enjoy future life cycle events. Let's review. Kim contacted David, to secure a mortgage on her first home, and David helped her secure a low-interest rate mortgage with only 5% down. If you're purchasing a home and would like the same outstanding service and low-interest rate as Kim received, call Team Hochberg now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of AM 560 listeners, but he can't help you. The team can't help you if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know and love, 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, I have another exhibit in support of my evidentiary case that sports press corps, just an adjunct of the political press corps, these mostly clowns want to be taken so seriously, so they wade into substantive issues, so they're not just another guy who could be in your fantasy sports league, baseball, football, whatever. I give you Canadian hockey analyst Steve Dangle. He is hot. He's very upset with Team USA for allowing themselves to be compromised by President Trump. And he's got a message for President Trump and anybody else who thinks Canada is going to be the 51st state. Much of an inferiority complex, Mr. Dangle?
What people have a problem with? Trump, besides being directly responsible for the murder of American citizens through his ICE Gestapo, with the context of Canada, he threatened our sovereignty. He threatened, and those players taking pictures with Carolyn Levitt and don't think we haven't forgotten with her smile on her face that looked a little different at the time. But that smile on her face.
What does that mean?
Hey, we look forward to the U.S. beating our soon-to-be 51st state, Canada. You ass. will never be your 51st state.
Can't take a joke.
And that's got nothing to do with hockey. That's got everything to do with you showing up at our front door with guns and tanks and shit. Of course we're going to feel a certain type of way about that. And you're the captain of a Canadian NHL team, Austin, Brady. Connor Hellebuck might as well be.
Quinn until a couple months ago.
Quinn until a few months ago, and you shook hands with that you. That dude threatened the place where I live and actively continues to do so. And I'm supposed to just look at you and feel fine about that? You.
Well, you go have a good cry, Steve Dangle, Canadian hockey analyst. Some tough talk from those Canucks again, huh? Yeah. That's fun. All right. Yeah, I mean, try again in 4 years. What the hell? Thank you for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. We'll obviously have more on developments in Iran and the Middle East tomorrow. We'll have another great lineup of guests to provide insights on all things that are occurring there. So check back with us then. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's the most lethal, complex, and precise aerial operation in history. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the War Secretary says about Operation Epic Fury in Iran.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel.
And